A very good morning and welcome from wherever you're watching us from. Karibu Sana to day 2 of the Africa and Climate Change Forum, Roadmap to COP27. Yesterday we had amazing sessions here and we want to appreciate a lot of you who tuned in. We had over 500 participants yesterday online, and thank you so much for really doing that. And so if you're watching us now, I want to request you to, share it out, because it's a social media. Share it to anybody who is who can gain from this particular conversation. Actually, everybody can. If there was a time to think about climate change and its diverse effects, it's now. Yesterday, we had a lot of variety of speakers really speaking about and painting a picture of what exactly is happening. And so today, we're going to dive deeper into great conversations. In fact, already we have the panel already that we're going to just kickstart with. But just to let you know, this conversation as well is ongoing on Twitter. The hashtag for the day is Switch Media Roadmap to COP27. So feel free to as well interact with us, ask your questions. Yesterday we had a bit of you asking some of those questions online, and we are open to that as well. Just a quick reminder as well that after every panel discussion, we have an open session to really get as much as we can from them and get the questions answered that you may want to ask. So thank you so much once again for really coming in. And we will be really communicating with you more and more. So, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce this session that we're going to have today, and it's about climate resilient agribusiness for tomorrow. Climate resilient agribusiness for tomorrow. And joining us today are two amazing gentlemen who are doing amazing work on the ground, if I may use that kind of phrase. Talking about smart agriculture in Africa. Now we have Kedal Group, and represented by Yariv on my far right. That's Yariv Kedal. And we also have representing Craft, Harold Mate as well, who is here with us. And gentlemen, welcome. Would like to just dive into this conversation, but first, before I do that, I've just mentioned your name. I would want to give you just about 45 seconds first to just briefly tell us what are you doing for the sake of the people before I get to my questions. Let me start with you, Harold.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Harold Mate. I'm a project manager of Craft, which is a project of SNV, Netherlands. And it's a consortium project. We are implementing that with other partners. And this project really is focusing on climate smart agriculture. And when I talk about climate smart agriculture, it's about the practices and technologies that are helping small and medium enterprises and smallholder farmers become more resilient in the face of changing weather and climate patterns in Africa, and particularly in Kenya.
Great.
Thank you.
Let me come to you, Arif.
My name is Yariv Kedal. I'm from Kedal Gap Group. We have our main office is in Israel. We have our African branch in Kenya called AgriGreen. And we have some of our team here in the branch. Can you raise your hands, stand up? You can see.
Yeah.
Probably. And what we are doing is basically food security projects, and also identifying and bringing innovative solutions that are applicable and that have the right elements to succeed. Okay. In order to succeed in food security, you have to, first of all, there has to be a need, and then the change has to be visible. And this is what we are doing. We are bringing projects in different places, if it's in Malawi or it's Mali or different places in Africa, to improve livelihoods while tackling the climate change, because it's going hand in hand today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. At least that's a quick brief of what they're doing on the ground. Now we're talking about smart agriculture. Sometimes it could be too smart for the people who may be watching us and wondering what is this all about. And I would want to open the session by that. And let me start with you, Yariv. What is smart agriculture, and what are some of the implementations that you've done in the continent? I think you've just already said that there are a few things that you're doing, but just from the definition point of view, what is your understanding on this particular matter of smart agriculture?
Okay, smart climate agriculture is an approach, an integrated approach that brings together, taking into account how to manage the landscape If I'm speaking landscape, it could be fish, it could be forestry, it could be cultivated area. Managing the landscape while addressing food security challenges and at the same time the climatic changes that are occurring. So to make it, let's say, more clear, if we have later on we'll have a presentation, but I can mention if you have a very hot area that becomes warmer, then in this case you have a problem of fruit setting. So climate smart agriculture could be even finding the right varieties of crops, if it's tomatoes or whatever, that will grow in that area and will withstand the heating temperature, the hot temperatures that are warming up, and compared to a variety that might be before but will not yield as much or will not yield at all. And we've seen it here even in the coast of Kenya. Or areas that we are speaking right now. The main focus I would like in this presentation is a very amazing innovation that 5 years ago we wanted to do projects, and we gave up projects because of salinity. Salinity, that is a big challenge in many places. If I'm speaking in Kenya, it's northeastern Kenya, it's the coast, it's Kajiado, it's many areas, but also you have it in northern Uganda, you have it in different areas in the world, not only Africa. And there are limits that you cannot grow crops in those areas, although there is water, but that water is suitable only for, it's not suitable even for growing. And this solution is taking the water without being a very expensive system like what most of the people will think when I'm speaking is something called reverse osmosis. It's totally different. And then it allows the farmer, the local farmer, the community, to irrigate with the existing water, still to have food on the table, and to grow in areas that before that that's considered significantly untouched because they don't have you can't do anything with that, and on the same time saving 30% of the water because using that device. That is Alvatech, and that I will explain later on. So our projects, our activities, we have activities that are food security, not necessarily only this. This is a tool that we are mentioning, and even with the Kenya Red Cross, we are having a successful project like this in Lamu, but not the island, the mainland, when Kenya Red Cross has also a center of innovation. And we are doing projects in Mali, in Malawi, in the past in Lesotho, even in Venezuela we are starting now. We have different places. Most of the places we are looking how to take lives of certain communities and improve them by bringing better food for the table in spite of the challenges of food security that we are facing, of climate change that we are facing.
All right. I think that's a good brief. In fact, I think you have painted a picture, and as he has said, later on he's going to demonstrate for us what they're doing. If you haven't had time today, I'm going to allocate some time for the physical members present, all the participants, to at least go to the tents, interact with what they're doing, and you'll be amazed at some of the products that are really on the ground to ensure we have this being implemented. Let me come to you, Harold, as well, on the same thing, if you have any addition on what smart agriculture would be, and just what you're doing around the continent, plus just painting as a picture of the scope of work that you're around. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think Yariva's put it right in terms of the universally accepted definition of climate smart agriculture, basically looking at the management of landscapes and resources in the agricultural sector. It could be livestock, it could be crop production, but importantly is looking at how do we manage the production of these in these subsectors in view of the changing climatic patterns, and more so looking at how is the decision making being informed by analysis and information that we have? For example, we talked about varieties that are maybe drought resistant, but that has to be informed, and the farmer who is involved in that has to understand that for me to be able to produce a crop in this particular season, I need to pick a certain variety. This is, when we talk about soil analysis, the question is how much of nutrients, excuse me, does my crop need? And availing that to smallholder farmers and any other farmer in particular forms a nexus of what we would call climate smart agriculture. So it is about the technologies and the practices that farmers or practitioners in agriculture would need to adopt to be able to still continue producing food and other things in face of climate change. For us in Craft, the Climate Resilient Agribusiness for Tomorrow project, we are in 3 countries, in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, and particularly more, I will talk about Kenya. And we have 5 components, I would say. One is in terms of promoting the adoption of CSA practices and technology by smallholder farmers. And this is in the case of building resilience for them. We are saying, yes, changing climatic patterns is affecting how our farmers produce food and crops and other things. And we are saying, what is it that we can do to ensure that they are actually resilient and they are able to continue actually in farming and producing food? Of course, we know over 80% of food in Kenya is produced by smallholder farmers, yet these are the most affected by changing weather patterns. Secondly, we are also recognizing that the food systems in Kenya and basically in sub-Saharan Africa are driven by small and medium enterprises. Yet, sometimes we do not actually give the due attention to SMEs. And we, under Craft, we are actually investing in SMEs and cooperatives to de-risk them and enable them to actually incorporate climate smart agriculture in their supply chain systems, linking these SMEs with the smallholder farmers. And we do think that that is actually creating resilience, not only for the smallholder farmers, but also for SMEs. Thirdly, we are recognizing that agriculture is thought to be a government forte, that when you talk about food today, when you talk about agriculture, you quickly talk about the government. And you say, what is the government doing? Why don't we have food? Why are smallholder farmers not able to access fertilizer and all these things? But we are saying this is a multi-stakeholder issue, that the private sector must be at the center of agriculture. Whereas the government really has done so much in putting out policies, how much of these policies really have been able to be interpreted and pushed to the other stakeholders to really enable them scale some of these issues. For example, when you talk about the CSA practices and technologies, we recognize that we must scale them. We must be able to reach as many. And that can only happen when we have policies that actually improve the enabling environment. If you have a technology, are we able to have a conversation around that in terms of how can we scale these CSA technologies and practices? And with that, we are working with both the national government and the county government. Already we have the Kenya Climate Smart Agriculture Strategy. Okay. But we recognize also that is at the national level. The county government, where agriculture is actually domiciled, has not kind of domesticated that to speak to the county context in each of the counties. And Craft has taken lead with other stakeholders to actually now domesticate for each of the counties. We are targeting 18 counties. We already have dialogues with 10 counties and started developing the implementation framework for 2 counties already. So we are really working on the enabling environment on CSA.
Wow. And I know I could give you a day to explain exactly what you're doing.
True, yes.
But allow me to actually veer off to both of you, because we are seeing a situation right now. Let me use a Kenyan example, where we are sort of like running on a shortage constantly. Even maize has become an issue. I think there's already the UNGA conversation, right? because we are still always running below. And you know, Yariv, you're working in desert, arid areas, countries that really don't have land like this country, and are food sufficient by themselves. I just wanted to throw this to you and ask you, what is ailing us, in your opinion, first? Why are we not, with all these blessings, if I may call them that, where we have arable land and the likes, why are we not yet sufficient to ourselves? Yari, from your observation, what are you seeing?
First of all, I must mention, say that it's a correct question, and there's no reason for it to be so. The reason that I see, I'm not going to say on the line here, but on the other hand, there are some potential that Kenya. I'm myself. I'm living here 15 and a half years in Kenya. 23 or 24 years of my life I've lived in developing nations. Kenyans are very smart people, very capable, and they could take and do a revolution. In fact, part of the things that we ourselves as Kedar Gap we started is engaging those students every year. There was started 50 students that are training now from Kenya to Israel for 11 months, coming back to Israel, to Kenya. Then it was 100. Now it's 200 students a year under agreement that was between the two governments. And then engaging them in projects and some women groups, some personal. These things are catching up. It's improving because they are bringing some ideas, some innovation, but exposure. They're learning. What is lacking here is knowledge. What is lacking here is how to implement the knowledge. In Kenya, one thing is they are very smart, but they like to cut corners. In a general way, people like to cut corners. And saying that, people that come from Israel, like we have Dolin here that is working in our team, it was a mind transformation when she came back from working 11 months in agriculture in Israel, then joined Kenya. She understood, and like her, many youth, the change has to start. Not in, I didn't mention before, some of our activities are in schools, to not only to feed the schools, but to have the schools transform this mindset of the young generation. We have a whole program like that. We have also another program that later on, I think it's very relevant to climate change, because if you tackle the climate change, you can, or the communities, they understand, and they understand what is good for them is also what is good for climate change. And I'll give you an example. If this week I was all the week with guests from University of Arizona and some guests from some universities and research institutes in Israel. And I took them to see communities, different communities, to open the eyes, to understand that the solution is a holistic approach. It's something a solution that you have to integrate it. And when you come to communities, that community that was in Kibwezi was moved a couple of years back, 30 years back, and each one got a plot, but in order to work the plot, they had to cultivate, they had to cut the trees. When they cut the trees, after 10, 15 years, they see the rain pattern is gone. If it's because of that or not because of that, they see that that action has affected their rain and their livelihood. Now they have to struggle. They have to find solutions that are coming to improve their livelihood. Some of the communities have saline. In these saline solutions, I mentioned the Alvatech. It can be a very, very nice solution.
Yeah.
And others, a whole approach, a holistic and social approach can change their lives. Okay. But as long as these approaches are not adapted, and as long as it doesn't, people like to come, they have been in India, they say, look, in India, the farmers are doing well, and they're also small and poor and this. But in India, there is a stronger backup in the law.
Okay.
by the government.
Okay.
Here, every county is assisting according to its capacity, the budgets, the things that they have. So it makes the changes.
All right. Thanks for that. And I love the fact that you said what's ailing us and even given us solutions and even what exactly you're doing, especially the training, especially for the kids in schools. That's where I think a lot of change starts from. Of course, Harold, I'm going to ask you to also as well tell us, you've seen it all here.
Yeah.
What's happening? What's ailing us as well?
Well, I would say this is a dicey question.
It's a dicey one, yes.
And and it can become also very political. And I will not speak on behalf of anybody when it comes to maize, and you know. But I think one of the things that we need to recognize as Kenyans, and this is my opinion, is that we need to start adapting. Adaptation is a key thing for survival, really, basically. And I would take you back a bit and talk about COVID.
Okay.
So COVID came in about 2 years ago, and it threw us off on whatever we knew life to be, ceased to be, and we had to adapt new ways of survival, and we have grown into it now. And what I think is that for food shortage in Kenya, and of course here Rivers mentioned about some of the issues that probably are contributing to it, but I think we have a much bigger problem. When we talk about food in Kenya, what comes in mind? Probably ugali and sukuma
Where is
wiki
the guy?
maybe, and, you know,
Yeah,
and
anyway.
and we don't think a little bit more widely about food. And to me, I think that is one of the main issues that we have. So if I don't get maize today, what can I eat? And there are other foods, including sorghum and millets and sweet potato, arrowroots, but how many would really be wanting to change their mindset to some of these things? So for me, I think adaptation. But I'm not saying that maize should not be produced, but even some of our government officials have alluded to that fact that we need to actually stop thinking about just maize. Diversify. So and if you talk about craft already, if you look at the value chains that we are focusing on, looking at changing our mindset from what we know to what actually can be grown with the changing climatic patterns. Because to be honest, I don't think the situation in terms of climate change is going to really improve to what we think it used to be. Very clear seasons with enough rainfall. And well, it can improve, I don't know. But I'm saying with what we are faced with, it is about adaptation. So for craft, for example, we are looking at green grams, which you know can grow in drier areas. We are talking about sorghum, which you know is also drought resistant. And it is being used now to by some of our SMEs to blend into maize and reduce the demand for maize in producing their product. So for me, I think it's about adaptation, and it need also to come from the law in terms of backing those initiatives, and asking, can we now have a conversation on changing our plate a little bit? I think that, Thank you.
Let me just ask the members present, how many of us, it's okay, it's not a scene, how many of us had ugali yesterday? Just yesterday? Yesterday. Ugali. I'm just doing a quick census yesterday, like half the room. Some of you are still thinking, because I think, I don't know. Okay, maybe we need to do one campaign. I think if Kenyans for 1 week were told don't have ugali, this crisis will disappear. I'm just thinking, you know. Some people are complaining, sorry. Anyway. Now let's dive into another question here, because agriculture, and I want to appreciate the ladies in the house, because statistics have it that women are in the lead when it comes to matters agriculture. And so women in Africa are definitely called the backbone of agriculture in this country. I don't know whether anything has changed, but that's the latest that we have. So how do we introduce an agribusiness mindset to promote smart agriculture among women? I think that is the question. How do we introduce an agribusiness mindset to promote smart agriculture among women? Evan, we start with you, Arif.
Okay, it starts not only agribusiness, because we have to distinguish which level of farmers are we talking, but most of the poor farmers and the communities that we are looking at are communities that are, at least in the last many communities that I've seen in the recent time. So, as you mentioned, women are the ones that are most working and most concerned. Men are from the communities many times going to try to find some job in Nairobi or some other places. But these people make, just to put the things in proportion, in some communities, 80,000 shilling per year, up to 130,000 shilling per year, which is about $75,000 to $115,000. This is the yearly income to feed the whole family. And then part of my questions, survey to those communities, what are your expenses? They give me a list of the expenses that can be even double that. And I say, how is it? How are you bridging this gap? We give the children what they can. If they can eat in the school, they eat. The children come home, many times they don't eat. And the women maybe eat sometimes once a day, sometimes don't eat the whole day, and the other thing. This is the severity that you see in communities, in some places. If the mind is set on just preparing the food, it is not set on agribusiness. First of all, there has to be solutions, and this is what I mentioned, models that we have that work, and we've done it with the Kenya Red Cross in many communities, but we have now upgraded the models to feed whole communities and to change now not slowly, but once they are starting to see there is hope, there is income, then they will start to see how there is more income. Because again, I'm going back to the Alvatech device, this device that is behind it. When these people know that they have, someone even gave them a borehole, but that borehole will yield nothing, and they get, if I'm speaking Wasingishu, they get 20 bags per acre per year. Mm-hmm. These guys here, some of them tell me we got half a bag. Mm-hmm. And the main food is maize. It's not a question that they want more. They are eating mainly, they want to balance, they want to eat tomatoes, they want to eat beef or not beef, chicken, maybe twice a year in Christmas and another time. So when we are speaking on empowering, first of all, the empowerment of the women. Women are traditionally those that are bringing the water, those are digging the shamba, those that are doing the work, and the solution, like Alvatech for giving them, changing the saline water that is very low cost. The solution itself, even that it's low cost, they cannot afford many times if they have to buy themselves. If it's a communal project, it can be looked upon differently, and also saving the water is important. And once they are educated, they educate their children, they will be able to start thinking business and to start going differently.
Okay. Let me bring you in, Harold. Maybe you could as well maybe add on that on what we can do to the women. But my other question as well for you would be, how do we expand the evidence base that smart agriculture works? How do we expand that? And if you have any addition on the women part of it, you could go ahead, please.
Yeah, so MC, you put it right that women are the backbone of agriculture in Africa, because when you go to our farms, it is the women you find tilling the land, the harvests, the winnow, for example, think about how to store. However, you must recognize that when it comes to sales and the utilization of income from those enterprises, it is not the woman who makes the decision. I mean, it's the man who, for example, who will make the decision, well, we sold some maize or beans, and he has the prerogative of making a decision on how to utilize that income, which I think it is, of course, based on our culture and many other things. However, we are saying, recognizing that women now are already the ones in the farms and doing most of the work in there, ours is to identify how do we make it more efficient, but also understanding that it has to be from a business perspective, understanding the gross margins for every enterprise. Sometimes we grow crops because we found our parents growing them. So I found my dad, for example, growing coffee and maize, and somehow I get into the habit of actually having to grow those crops, not putting in mind the returns the cost I'm putting into the farm and the returns that I'm getting back. So putting women in that space of being able to actually look at the cost they incur in their crop production, and also looking at the market space, because again, we think that the market pool is key in when you talk about business. Whatever I'm growing must be related to market demands and what is happening in the market space. So understanding the market first, then moving into production and getting now our women farmers into that space so they can speak to the market. Additionally, of course, we are having the issue of creating efficiency. For example, when you talk about like in sorghum and green grams under craft, we are talking about technologies that make those processes efficient. We know they are labor intensive. Can we have technologies that now offload that from the women, and women have more time to do other things? So those are some of the technologies that we are promoting. Coming back to your question about how do we actually provide evidence that climate-smart agriculture works. In craft, we have put a robust mechanism to gather data, because if you want to convince somebody that something is working, including the technologies we are talking about, you have to actually present evidence. So we have put in a robust system for learning, and the information we have from the craft project is being analyzed and saying, you see, when farmers adopt certain practices, these are the results in terms of yield, these are the results in terms of income improvements, these are results in terms of labor-saving technologies. So that is the evidence we are gathering and sharing with our stakeholders to say, climate-smart agriculture works. And even as we work with the county governments, those are some of the things that we are putting on the table and saying, this is the reason we think that we need to actually promote and invest in climate-smart agriculture.
Great, I think that's lovely. And I want to tell our online audience who are watching, and even the people present, feel free to now start jotting in your questions. I'm about to come to you so that you can interact with our panelists. Let me come to you, Yariv, and we want to talk about integrating local communities to adopt smart technologies. Integrating local communities, just the local communities, to adopt smart technologies, especially in vulnerable ecosystems that you have worked in some places. How do we bridge this gap between government and private sector to actualize this? Because we would want all this coming in. And maybe if you have any other addition on how we can, expand evidence-based smart agriculture and to tell people that it works, you can feel as well open to add something on that.
If I got the question correct, how to adopt...
Integrate local communities to adopt smart technologies, especially in vulnerable ecosystems.
I would be happy to answer that with a clip that I have.
Oh, okay.
But before that, I'll give a few words.
Please go ahead.
There is a need, a very strong need to what you asked now, and there are solutions. And the community, they understand they are vulnerable. Everyone on its own in the community is very vulnerable. This is why they come to self-help groups, what they call.
Yeah.
Or to come, they have these merry-go-round systems, or they have the other systems. Some are supported by NGOs, some are supported by themselves. But all of them, they need guidance.
Yeah.
Part of the guidance, it's not even related to lack of inputs. Some of it is lack of understanding, lack of knowledge. They see something, for instance, they see the maize, and they see afterwards the caterpillars that are attacking it, but they don't relate that these small like sachets that are on the maize leaf are the eggs of those caterpillars, that they could have crushed some of them before that or sprayed them before that. This basic knowledge sometimes is lacking. So us we developed ourselves, Kedargap, with partners of ours, a project that is called SOVA. We're also going to implement it now in Rwanda, okay, but with the government. But that project is exactly tackling this issue. The phrase starts with understanding what if there is water, if the water, if it needs to be treated, because with this solution of Alvatec, which is relatively very, very, 1/10 of reverse osmosis or the existing solutions that are today, really attractive. And then we find the market. The market is the key. You have to start with the market. Once we have the market, and we create the market if we don't have it, then we come with this center. The center has several elements in it. One of it is adaptation of seeds and varieties, adaptation to the community, what is needed there.
Okay.
We bring whatever the crop is most common and what can do there well, and to introduce. This is one element. The other element is water, tackling with water. That could be under irrigation, under different systems that are needed, and even Alvatec or drip irrigation or sprinkler irrigation, whatever is needed. Then you have a post-harvest element in the center.
Okay.
That you take it with a cold store. That because today what's happening that dealers are coming to those farmers. They can't. They have maybe a donkey that they can, or bicycle that they can take it 5 kilometers, but the market can be 50 kilometers back. So now you give them a solution there, and then having said and done this, they have a training center, and which is also communal center that they get, for instance, women empowerment by different organizations that tell about health, about different family planning and different elements.
Okay.
If you don't have a family plan, if you understand family planning, you plan it better. At the end of the day, you will give more to your children than if you have 3 children rather than 8 or 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the same. If it's 4 minutes clip, if I can show it, I will the SOVA clip. Where's the lady?
So I think the technical team is putting it up.
Vast and fertile continent with millions of.
No, but you don't see the visual.
They're about to put it up, so they're communicating with me. But I just hope you got some of these particular solutions here. You also plan ahead of time in terms of the kind of works that you want to bring. Are we ready for that? Yeah, please play it.
Africa is a vast and fertile continent with millions of farmers who work the land using traditional family methods that produce poor quality, low crop yields. Today, the agricultural sector in Africa provides a GDP similar to the West GDP 70 years ago. Technology helped developed countries reach the record crop harvests, and today, these countries have become the food storehouse and granary for the entire world. Imagine millions of farmers in Africa using these technologies. Africa would not only be able to feed itself and eradicate hunger, but also become the largest granary in the world, better equipped to deal with food shortages and future climate challenges. No need to imagine any longer. SOVA project is readily available, and it's changing the face of Africa. A few years ago, a group of experts in Israel understood that the solution lies in a robust social, economical, and technological agricultural model that can provide technologies to farmers in Africa in order to both maintain the traditional small family farms and also create significant growth in crop yields, preventing hunger and improving produce quality, and most importantly, the lives of the farming families. The solution is composed of 2 integral parts, the SOVA kit and the SOVA center, bringing a unique, communal, holistic approach. Family farms will use a SOVA kit, adapted to their region, which will enable them to improve their crop yields by being connected to the SOVA center. The farmer's SOVA kits includes all inputs for successful crop production, from sowing to harvesting, requiring minimal expertise. It includes seeds of elite varieties, fertilizers, irrigation systems, and a small greenhouse. These precision agricultural kits adapt to specific community needs, both in terms of environmental conditions and in terms of farmers' needs. The second part of the solution is the SOVA Center that provides management, monitoring, and training for the small farmers community to ensure their success. The SOVA Center leverages the power of the community for the benefit of the individuals that are a part of it. The SOVA Center includes a technology adaptation station, starts with testing and demonstrating the suitability of new seed varieties for the region and to the community needs. A training and capacity building unit, focused on training the local leadership and farmers using new technologies. A kits assembly unit, where the customized kits for community needs are assembled. It also includes storage space and maintenance of shared farming equipment. Water technology unit, water being a key constraint for agriculture, identifying water technologies that can cope with the regional conditions, and poor infrastructure is a key component. Marketing and post-harvest service unit provides post-harvest equipment and services for crop processing, better storage, and marketing. Digital Center, designed specifically for small farmer communities for managing entire farming operations. It includes digital technologies, allowing monitoring farmers' plots using high-resolution geographic information system technology. The centralized data collection and analysis supports the SOVA agronomists in planning and supporting the operation of the farms, providing them with simple and actionable recommendations through existing devices, including mobile phones. The SOVA project is committed to bringing an agricultural revolution to enable Africa to feed itself, improve the standard of living, creating a positive social impact for family farms, empowering the community, including women and youth groups, while conserving the environment through this holistic and innovative approach. Join SOVA now.
Wow.
So, thank you.
Quick reaction. Yeah.
So this is taking into account all the climate change and mitigating the climate change, getting much more from a lower area, from a smaller area, big saving on water, big saving on land, encouraging to grow more trees, and the whole holistic approach is change the mind, change the heart, and feed the people.
Wow.
That is the approach of the climate mitigation system by SOVA.
Lovely. Wow, I think that's very explanatory to everybody here. And Harold, I would like to end this session with you. I don't know what's your quick reaction on that, but I'd like you to also touch on just that part of bridging the gap between government and private sector to actualize this.
Yeah, so I would start in terms of the question you asked about getting the communities to adopt some of the things that we think are going to transform agriculture. And of course, knowledge is part of the package in terms of saying, we have been doing this with us as smallholder farmers or as farmers generally, and getting them to a new space and understanding the climate smart agriculture practices and technologies that they can use to improve their production, whether it is in terms of changing the value chain, for example, whether it is about adopting new varieties. But remember, as you talked about evidence. So farmers work very well when they can see. It's about seeing. So you say you have a variety that really does very well in drier areas. Can we see actually? So we have, under craft, we have set out to do demo plots and demonstrate some of these technologies, whether varieties, whether actual water harvesting technologies, the farming methods, use of farm implements, to actually get the farmer to see actually what is going on. Again, I would want to talk about bridging the gap between private sector and government. What I believe is that for any sustainable solution to be found or to be implemented, the private sector has to play a central role, because government really comes in to facilitate and create, and that's why we are talking about the enabling environment, that if we have these technologies and practices, climate smart technologies and practices, how do we enable the practitioners and actors in agriculture to actually find it easier to implement? If you're talking about the county governments, as they domesticate the climate smart agriculture strategy, how does it speak to the private sector to say, for example, I know the issues of taxes here are really also a thing that really people have talked about, over taxation and all that. But we are saying, can we actually give these specific technologies that could allow us smaller farmers really be able to expand their production and productivity as we speak to the government? The second thing, of course, has been in terms of investing in the private sector, and that is why we have taken the small and medium enterprise approach and cooperatives, investing in these entities and de-risk them as they get into the climate smart agriculture space. So those are the conversation. When we talk about policy, we recently did launched what you call the CSAMSP, the Climate Smart Agriculture Multi-Stakeholder Platform. We are facilitating the formation of this across the counties. And this is really an independent entity, but we are facilitating the activities where we think they are actually speaking to climate smart agriculture. We recently did facilitate the launch of their strategy, a 5-year strategy, and the monitoring framework. So, and this is an intersection of of stakeholders and government. The government actually that took lead in this. So these are some of the things that we are actually doing to bring all the parties into the same space. And recognizing that there is no single entity that is going to change and transform this issue. It has to be a concerted effort by all the parties so that we get to the same solution. Be complementary, not a duplication, not competition. That's the approach.
Thank you so much, Harold. And I know we're actually going to end with a clip that you recorded, and then we can get a lot more from that. Ladies and gentlemen, as I asked you, if you're online, please send in your question for the panelists, not panelists, sorry, for the physical attendees. Anybody with a question? I want to see, whoa, okay, 1, 2, 3. Now, what I'm gonna do, I will pick all those questions at a go, and then the panelists will answer, okay? So if I could have the mic going round, I want to believe there's one around, and if it's somewhere far, you could use mine. Okay, please. Let me have this. We could start. Let's start with the Sauti ya Vijana table. I had 2 hands there. Let me see. Yes, sir. Short, because I only got 15 seconds for a question. Go on.
Hello, morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm Boniface Omondi Onyango from National Youth Council. Okay, it's common knowledge that meat farming causes global warming, which is a major cause of environmental climate change. And we all know that in terms of agriculture, livestock farming is more viable than the other one. So how do we mitigate? How do we ensure that we continue meat eating and at the same time control global warming? Are we hitting a dead rock for us?
Thank you. That's a good question. You're asking for many people. All right. Please ask your question. Oh. Where was it? It was still, okay.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My question goes to Kenda. I was asking, after the exchange program, how do you help the youths or the people who have gone for the exchange program so that they can implement the knowledge that they get from the country that they have gone for the exchange program and bring it back home? Okay. And then the other question goes to...
You had several.
To craft. I had many, but I'll ask just 2. Which are these counties that you're working with for the project? Because I think we as Sauti ya Vijana, we need to get them into your project. Okay. Kaidre, if you could tell us the counties that you're working with, it could be better with us. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And finally at the back, I think it was Jemima. Oh, there was this is an amazing table.
Hello,
okay.
Good morning.
Hi.
My name is Rose from National Youth Council. I have 2 questions. One question is related to what she asked.
Then you can skip that one.
Okay. The other question is related to, I see that you use a lot of innovative technologies. So do you include innovations from the young people? Because according to statistics, innovations nowadays are from the young people. So do you leverage on the innovations from young people? And if you do you have those challenges where you accept innovations from young people?
That's a good question. I think I get it. So I think what she's asking is, are you guys open to taking up technologies that these guys are coming up with? They represent the young people in this house. And then finally, I think there was a question at the back. Oh, still on the table. I had not seen all these hands. Wow, okay.
My
One question, thank you.
I have two. Okay, my first question is, how do you ensure that going into the vulnerable communities, in the counties that you're working with, how do you ensure that this information on the technologies is relayed to a large number of people, the farmers?
Okay.
And then the second question is, for the technology, what do you go back to collect feedback from the people that you're giving the information about, or and the feedback that you get, what are the challenges that these people are facing in while using the technology?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I think it's actually be combined as one because it's information and feedback. Finally, I think there was Jemima at the back there.
Thank you so much. You've talked about capacity, knowledge basically as one of the gaps, and an enabling environment. My question is around the financing part. So given that donor funding is definitely limited, what is the initial cost to support the change between traditional methods of farming and the CSA, and how can this be upscaled from a community perspective? So if we have a farmer who is willing to actually transit into a CSA, what is the cost implication of that for the farmer?
I think it's very clear. Thank you so much. I can see some hands that are now popping up at the end, and I only have 4 minutes. So I think it's a cost. Your question is about the cost and how can the community really afford such kind of technologies. I think that's the question that she's talking about, because you're doing amazing things and she wants to take it down there to the people so they can adopt that. Okay. Shoot straight. You have 10 seconds, sir.
Okay, thank you. My name is Rading Biko. I just want to throw the question to the panelists. When it comes to funding of the smart agriculture, we have seen a number of times the geopolitics being played, whereby if a project is being funded by an American-based organization, then you'll see the project in that same area also is being funded perhaps by the Germans. So you will hear these things to do, they want to outshine each other. How do you address this geopolitics to ensure that, if projects are being funded, they are fully funded for the benefit of the local, but not for egocentric, which cuts across the continent? Thank you.
It's very clear. Thank you. Gentlemen, I know we could take each of us about 20 minutes answering all these questions, but I have 4 minutes, so I'm going to give you 2 each to address whatever you can. Some are very quick answers. Let me start with you, Yarif.
Okay. Let me try to follow up the questions. Okay. So what I got for the youth that I'll start with what I remember. Okay, with the youth that are coming back, there was no program set, a government program that was set. So some of them were also just adopted to government institutes, but not as a set thing. Others, the idea was actually that they will come to work in a big project. But now some of them, like going to Riyadh, going to work in Kisumu in fish farming, what they studied also in Israel. Some of them are going to work in different areas. A lot of self motivation and whatever they could find. Okay. So it was not structured, the coming back. It was supposed to be here by to be part of a big project, but that project was a Kenyan government project which did not, that budget was not kept for that one. The question of the budgets that you asked there, the budgets, the idea is that because the people don't have the money, especially the SOVA project, like I mentioned, the idea is that there will be some taking a community after doing a feasibility that was done, and organizations like us together with organization like Syngenta Foundation, maybe if SNV if they will want to join, or Red Cross in this case, yes, and joining together, setting a center. What I didn't emphasize that from that center, it's active. It's going to the farmer and giving the support in the farmer land, not as a center. It's not a training center. It's actually acting on the farmer's land so he learns better, which is very important to mention. And then the farmers, their yields will come at least 3 times more. The income that will come, part of it will go to the center, and with time, it's like it will return the investment for the farm, for the whole center itself. So the initial seed money cannot come from the farmers because they don't have it. But once they have the machine running, the machine will produce, and then it will pay itself. This is for the SOVA thing. Regarding funding of Alvatech, which is really very low cost compared to anything that is existing, but the funding there for the big farmers, it's large-scale farmers. They're treating 50 cubic meter. It's about $12,000 compared to the same amount, which is about $250,000 or $300,000. That with all the downsides of taking reverse osmosis, for instance. So $12,000 compared to almost $300,000, but and no maintenance, nothing. The small farmer, yet for the small farmer, it's about $2,000, about 220,000 shilling. Okay. We are now in process proceeding with some banks. So because they have a collateral, they have a possibility, there is a big need. You can see the difference. And there is, so it's relatively new technology. So this is in process with banks, and the farmer will be able to pay monthly, to pay in a program that will be set, getting the loan.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm sure there are some that have not been addressed. You could quickly talk about them.
Thank you. I will run through the questions in a very brief manner. For livestock, I think what I would say is that SNV has programs that are dealing with livestock. And there is the recognition that actually livestock contribute immensely to global warming. However, when you look at the context of Africa, the contribution is still very little. However, we do not ignore that fact. So the use of utilization of biogas, for example, from Slali, becomes part of the process of offsetting the contribution of livestock into that. So that's still, I would say, is an ongoing conversation, and various aspects, including the overstocking, and we recognize that livestock can actually lead to degradation of landscapes. How we have a project in Kajiado that is looking at how do we provide fodder and still be able to manage issues around livestock. On the counties we are covering, there are many, and I would say we can go to our booth there and be able to get the counties we are in: Tharaka Nithi, Machakos, Kitui, Nandi, Bomet, Busia, and others. So, but you can get more information from that. About the youth, yes, we are identifying opportunities within the value chains for youth. One being service provision, that some of the services, the CSA services we are promoting, the youth become service providers for that. So we are identifying specific opportunities. If you're talking about threshing, can the youth be the ones to run those enterprises within the specific value chains? We are talking about aggregation. Can they be the focal points for aggregation of the various commodities and earn commissions from that service they are offering? So identifying those opportunities. In terms of reaching a wider number, again, I mentioned that we use demonstration farms to be able to reach a huge number of farmers, but also we have the TOTs, the trainer of trainers, who then are able to reach out to various farmers within groups and locations and regions under the project. In terms of feedback, again, for the TOTs, again, I talked about collection of information that we use for learning and evidence through the network of TOTs and the cooperatives, the SMEs that we have. They're able to give us feedback on these technologies and the practices that we have. In terms of cost, we are running an analysis on the cost benefit or the gross margins for the technology, so that even as a farmer is adopting specific technologies, we're able to actually be able to see what is the cost they're investing in that specific enterprise and what it involves, because it is not anything complicated actually. It is about how they farm, it is about when they plant, it is about how they get the information on weather, how they use that information to make decisions in terms of when to plant, what to plant. It is about basic soil analysis to understand what fertilizers to use. So it also, we need to demystify that. It is not really this complicated, expensive approach to agriculture. Okay. And then lastly, the question on geopolitics, again, I would say as I mentioned, we approach this through a complementary approach, that if stakeholder A is doing something, I do not need to come in and do the same thing. I could come and do part B of that process so that it is complementary. And that's why we are saying partnership with stakeholders, with the county governments, understanding what other stakeholders are doing on the ground, and how do we build on that? How do we create a more complementary approach as opposed to really working in silos and doing independent things in the same area. I think I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we had for these amazing gentlemen, Yariv and Harold. They have done a very good job. Please give them a round of applause as they take their seats. And remember, you can as well visit the booths. I mean, today we want to give you enough time to go and check out what is there. But I want to leave you with what Harold said earlier on a video clip that can be playing. Then we shall transition to the next conversation. I think our guests are already online and ready to start over on Green Climate Fund. But before then, let's take a look at this video by Harold. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Let's take your seats.
CRAFT basically is a climate-focused project looking at issues of climate change and focusing on climate-smart agriculture. In view of the changing weather patterns, erratic rainfall, and the question is, how do we contribute to supporting smallholder farmers and improving food security for the population, the growing population in East Africa? And we are focusing on 3 areas. One is in terms of promoting climate-smart agriculture, technologies and practices among our farmers. The second is in terms of investing in inclusive value chains. And here we're investing in businesses, could be small and medium enterprises, as well as cooperatives, which we are working with under CRAFT. The third part is the enabling environment. And the question being, how do we enable the scaling of adoption of climate-smart agriculture practices and technologies. Then we are also focusing on gender inclusion, where we are focusing on women and youth. But also we have another cross-cutting issue on knowledge and learning. By the virtue of saying, as we implement this project, we are gathering evidence, and we are having emerging issues that we are learning as we implement the project. Then how do we use this to improve on the project implementation, but also to inform stakeholders in terms of decision making and what we think is working, what may not be working, and what can we actually improve on. CRAFT really is contributing to COP27 and other climate change issues that are coming up. And as I mentioned, we are doing a number of things, and especially I would want to focus on the policy, the enabling environment, and basically saying that we are all agreeing that climate change is here, and we can feel the effects. But one of the things that I would say has not really, it has been worked on, partners and stakeholders are really investing resources into it, but still we should be able to contribute to the development of strategies, especially in partnership with government. We have taken a step to partner with the national government in developing various pieces of materials. We have so far developed 4 training materials focusing on these 4 value chains. The other thing that we have focused on is working with the climate smart agriculture multi-stakeholder platform to actually push the climate change and climate smart agriculture agenda. And what we realize is that we already have the Kenya Climate Smart Agriculture Strategy at the national level. However, the county governments, where the agriculture docket really sits, has not been has not embraced this strategy, of course because of various reasons. And we have taken steps to partner with the county governments to domesticate and cascade this strategy and develop implementation frameworks at the county level, so that each county is able to tailor-make this to their own systems and focus in terms of maybe crops and other interventions. And we do think that working on the enabling environment really is going to enable the large-scale adoption of the CSA practices and technology, which is really an important facet for as a mitigation measure in agriculture. For the local farmers, we have already, for example, in Kenya, we already are working with 65,000 smallholder farmers. We are working with 13 business champions. And the model is that, as I mentioned, when you are de-risking the small and medium enterprises and the cooperatives, then they are also able to partner with smallholder farmers. So the goal is to actually enable the small and medium enterprises and the cooperatives, which we are calling the business champions, to be able to actually partner with smallholder farmers, because we want this to be private sector driven. So when the SMEs are demanding for raw materials from smallholder farmers, when they are transferring skills to smallholder farmers, then we are actually partnering with the smallholder farmers to enable them become more resilient in terms of the crop production, in terms of food security, and be able to mitigate against the risks they face as the climate change issues come up. The CRAFT project in Kenya has committed about 200 million Kenya shillings to 13 businesses so far. And this is the direct investment that is going to these businesses. And with these businesses, we have been able to reach about 65,000 farmers. And we do believe by the end of this year, we should be at around 70,000 or about 75,000 smallholder farmers. Again, this project is a 5-year project. We started in 2018 and is ending in December of 2023. So we are almost in the last phases of the project. CRAFT also is a consortium project where we are working with a number of institutions. One is that we are funded by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. And the lead partner for this project is SNV. However, we are also working with the Wageningen University and Research. We are also working with the IRRI, the International Livestock and Research Institute. We are working with Agriterra. And Agriterra is a Dutch organization that works with cooperatives. And also we are working with Rabobank. So this consortium is basically that makes up the implementation team for this project.
There you go. There you have it. And I believe that was quite comprehensive for all of us. For those of you who may be present here physically and have gone out on a break, please welcome back, because we are transitioning immediately to the second session, which is all about Green Climate Fund. I think yesterday there was a bit of a conversation about funding that could be accessed, but now today we want to go direct to the Green Climate Fund. And we have joining us online, we have the African Development Bank. We had Dr. Olofonso yesterday, and he's also there today, joining us virtually. And also representing Acorn Holdings is Sheila. And I want to believe she is the head of sustainability, and they have done amazing because they have shown us practically how these things can be done. Lady and gentlemen, I want to welcome you. But to begin on this session, I want us to understand and hear from the Acorn Holdings, especially on their experience in raising funds, you know, what they're doing with that fund in relation to climate and what they see in the future, and even their call to action on organizations. And I want to request Sheila, if you can hear me, to just say hello and just jump in, and then we're going to have that conversation as well with Dr. Olofonso later on. Sheila?
Yes, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to just talk about what our experience has been. My name is Sheila. I work with Acorn Holdings, and I currently manage the ESG function and also blended finance, because we have a pipeline that needs to be fully funded. And as we all know, real estate is very capital intensive. And so to be able to, meet all our capital needs and all our capital requirements, we've got various sources, or rather various lines of being able to raise financing for that. So that's what I do at Acorn. And just for the benefit of everyone, Acorn is a vertically integrated real estate company with 3 core capabilities. So we have strong capabilities in development management, in property management, and in real estate investing. What has been our traditional capability really has been development management, because we've been in this space for about 20 years. But then when we got into developing student housing under the brand Kwetu, we had to develop our property management capabilities as well as fundraising capabilities. And so those came in thereafter from 2016. And that's who we are in a nutshell. I don't know if you need me to add anything to that before we get into the conversation.
No, please proceed on. Please proceed on if you have anything else.
Okay, so I'll just basically talk through what our experience has been in raising funds. And because this is a climate change forum, I'll link that to what we've done in relation to climate and also generally to ESG elements, environment, social and governance perspectives of organizations in raising funds. Now, we were able to raise a green bond, which was launched in 2019. And that was a huge success, having been the first green bond in sub-Saharan Africa, which was later, of course, listed at the London Stock Exchange. Then later on, that was last year, we were able to also launch 2 REITs. So basically, our fundraising approaches have been through the green bond and through the REITs. The REITs are the real estate investment trusts. And we were able to do 2 REITs last year, the development REIT and the income REIT. Let me backtrack a bit and focus on the green bond, because then that has a bigger correlation with what we're discussing today about green financing. So why did we go for the green bond as opposed to raising, your traditional vanilla instruments for financing our real estate initiatives? This is because back in 2016, Acorn made a strategic decision to have the entire portfolio certified under the IFC EDGE platform. EDGE stands for Excellence in Design for Greater Efficiencies. And in this, we look at Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now. Proceed on. We left you at a sentence. If we look at, go on. I think we just lost connection there. Sheila, can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, we had lost a little bit of you, but just proceed on.
Okay. And so why we chose to go the green bond route is because we had strategically decided that our portfolio would entirely be certified under EDGE. EDGE looks at efficiencies in energy, water utilization, and also using materials that have less embodied energy for construction. And that's for the certificate and for the certification process, you need to demonstrate that the projects actually achieve 20% less energy across the three elements compared to a conventional building. So because we already had a portfolio in our buildings in line with this and having positive environmental impact to the communities and to the locations where we're citing these, we decided to go through the green bond process to be able to raise funds for the building, or rather for the entire portfolio. Now, what did this involve? It was a very intensive process for us, and also a lot of learnings, that came through from these, because then we had to go through and understand what raising green funds entails. And basically, you have the green bond principles, that you have to manage and you have to assure, and that's a use of proceeds. That means the proceeds are particularly ring-fenced for projects that have got positive environmental impact. The other thing is a selection of projects, and there's a process to this, and the entire process involves having external and third-party people actually verifying that what you're promising to do or what you're communicating to be doing is actually being done. And this is a very key concern to avoid greenwashing that has been common, with people saying, oh, we're able to achieve this, yet practically on the ground being able to do something different. The third thing about the green bond principles also is the reporting framework. So we've got the green bond framework that we have to consistently and constantly report, to investors in terms of how the funds are utilized, the impact that we are consistently making, and that indeed we continue to make progressive changes and positive changes towards the environment based on our activities. And this is very important because real estate has a very big impact, on the climate, from the use of materials, the greenhouse gas emissions, and basically it's where we all operate in, and so we have to make that sustainable. So our experience in that is that we had a lot of support, through the process to make that a reality and to make that a success. And I think just to mention a few, we had a lot of support from our partners, Garantco, because we had to have the bond rated, a credit rating applied to the bond to be able to attract institutional grade investment. The other thing that we also had to do is to have a guarantee for the bond, because it was first. Acorn is also a private entity, and so to be able to just create that confidence in investors, we had to go through the process of getting a guarantee for the bond to give investors an assurance that the funds would be well utilized, and there would be a clear reporting framework and clear accountability measures that were put in place. So that talks into the green bond that we're able to raise. Last year we had a second tranche, and this was oversubscribed. We're able to actually raise 5.7 billion to date to fund the activities that we do. That's the student accommodation. The other thing, if I can just go to a different experience that we've had, is in going through the REITs, raising the real estate investment trust funds. And for this, what we decided to do, just in line with green bond, and because this is strategically a decision that Acorn has made to incorporate sustainability in how we conduct our business, is we had the funds rated under the GRESB framework, which is a real estate a global benchmark that looks at environment, social, and governance factors in terms of how an organization conducts its business. So for all this, the thing to note for all of us is just to appreciate the extra requirements that are needed for you to be able to successfully, float a green financing, whether it's a bond or in our case also the REITs. And that's just the internal systems that you need to have in place that assure third parties that accountability and reporting is indeed being done, in a correct way. And if I give an example, for the green bond, we had to have the bond certified under CBI, under the Climate Bonds Initiative, which looks at various elements, looks at the underlying assets that the bond is able to support. And with that assurance and linking in third-party technical advisors and independent advisors who report directly to the investors, we were able then to go through a successful raise for both the green bond and the REITs. So I think in a nutshell, that would be our experience in raising funds, for our portfolio.
All right, great. I don't know whether I think I will leave the call to action to other organizations as we interact with this. But ladies and gentlemen, allow me to bring in as well Dr. Olufonso. This is just a perfect example of what we can do when an organization decides to go the Green Climate Fund way. And I think that's a good example from Acorn on how they raised money through the green bond that they floated for their real estate. And we have seen, guys, have you seen the Kwetu buildings around in the country? Student housing called Kwetu. They look so beautiful and very nice, right? I don't know whether you guys have visited in. I have managed to walk into one of them like, wow, I wish I was a student back then, because if I compare to where we lived, I can't even describe. But it's beautiful, amazing, and the fact that this is raised through the Green Climate Fund that we're talking about. Dr. Olufonso, let me bring you in, and I would like you to kindly start us off on a very basic ground, because we also have people here who want to really understand what this is all about. From your perspective, what is the Green Climate Fund, and who are the beneficiaries to the fund? It would be nice to start from such kind of basic level, if you can, please.
Thank you. Very good morning, Mina, and to all of you. Thanks, Sheila, for such a very beautiful overview. So forgive me, it may be a little bit of a noisy background here. I'm in a conference in Kigali, and this is the New World Order, where you are in a conference in Kigali physically and virtually part of another conference in Nairobi. I like the question on what is the Green Climate Fund, and I think it's a very relevant question, because you'll be shocked that even some people who use the term GCF, when you ask them what exactly GCF is, you may just hear diverse answers. So basically, sometimes in 2009, there was this global climate conference called Copenhagen, and during the Copenhagen conference, all the countries who are signatories to the United Nations Framework on Convention on Climate Change, so basically the UN body organizing and managing climate change, decided to ratify a program, a central global climate fund, where basically developed countries who are largely responsible for the emissions are supposed to put some resources into that fund, and that is the Green Climate Fund. And today is a fund that was established by 194 countries globally, and with the purpose of either reducing emissions, which we call mitigation, or helping countries that are very vulnerable to climate change to adapt, which you call adaptation. So a Green Climate Fund, a GCF, is basically to address mitigation and adaptation. Now, here's the thing about GCF. You must be able to answer questions around what are the sources of financing into the fund, and largely that comes from developed countries. Now, unfortunately, GCF, with all the expectations that we had about it, with all the excitement we had about it, when it comes to the reality on the ground, is a complete opposite.
Okay.
The total amount of money that has been committed to GCF as of today is barely $10 billion.
Oh.
Now, when GCF was established, it was supposed to be $100 billion annually. So GCF was designed to be at least $1 trillion fund, doing massive investment on the ground. What we have today, more than 10 years later, is barely 10% of the annual fund. And that's not a good news. And let me repeat that. What we have today is barely 10% of the annual contribution that was expected. So this is a fund, and think about it. Out of those 194 countries that are members of the GCF, more than half of them, actually China plus group of some 7, more than half of them are considered to be beneficiary countries. So countries that can receive the fund for mitigation adaptation. Now think about that. If there are about 100 countries, how do you want to share $10 billion over the last 11 years with over 100 countries? Just do the simple math. And the beneficiaries are supposed to be the local people on the ground. The beneficiaries are supposed to be you and I. The beneficiaries are supposed to be the farmers, you know, the fishery person and all of that. But it's not anywhere near what we're expecting. And that's why I don't want to sound like the devil's advocate here, or someone who shares bad news. In Africa, we have to look beyond GCF when it comes to finance now, adaptation and mitigation. And yesterday I was sharing with you, Kenya alone needs about $6 billion every year for the next 8 years. Just Kenya alone. Now, and GCF in the last 10 years has done only $10 billion. So if you even give all the GCF money to the whole of Kenya, it's still not enough. And we have over 100 countries fighting for this. Mine, I don't know if you still want me to be your friend, but let me stop here for now.
I know. I just want to bring you in once again to just address two mouthful questions here. One, accreditation of institutions by Green Climate Fund in Africa. Yeah, now, what are these institutions? For the sake of people who will be listening and saying, we need to raise funds like how other institutions have done. Who are these people who are accredited to give this concession or loans or equity? That's number one. And number two, quickly, are there conditions that must be met for corporations in Africa to access the fund? I'd like you to address those two shortly, like in 2 minutes or so.
Thank you. So while we may not have succeeded in raising enough money within GCF, I think there's something that's commendable about GCF, and that is the structures that is put in place. The type of financial external climate funds, the Global Environment Facility and the Climate Investment Funds, the successes to GCF were quite limited in terms of accreditation. So they were usually either countries or in development partners that could access or could be accredited under those funds. On the GCF, it was really much expanded. So what does it mean? It means in a country like Kenya, a private entity like HICON can actually be an accredited entity. A commercial bank like KCB can. The government of Kenya through NEMA is accredited. African Development Bank is accredited. So the value of that is that you have multiple hands knocking on multiple doors at the same time and hoping that the money will flow. So for us at the African Development Bank, we're very keen to see more people getting accredited. So we're building technical assistance support. We are helping countries and institutions to be able to come up. Even NGOs can be accredited. And some NGOs in Africa are actually accredited. And I think that's a very good thing about it. Now, the second thing is there are conditions to be met, indeed. And those conditions are largely around financial management. They are largely around issues about safeguard, fiduciary capabilities. So basically, you have to show that you have the system in place to be able to manage the money and to make sure that whatever resources you're given, they go to the, to the agreed activities. And that is very important so that we don't also get to a point under this space of limited resources to be entertaining wastages. So it's very important to go through that. Now, it is not an easy thing because you go through a long process back and forth. In some cases, some of our countries, some of our partners, some of our NGOs and commercial banks don't have the requisite system in place. So they need to go through a little bit of hand-holding together, and that's what we do at the African Development Bank. However, in some cases, if a country or an organization thinks the whole process of accreditation is too long, too cumbersome, what they can do is to partner with an existing accredited entity, and then they can still get the money. So you can choose the path that you want.
Okay.
I'll keep it there for now. Thank you.
I think that's very clear, and I think you have also addressed another question I wanted to ask you about how governments can really harness the opportunities to get these financial opportunities that are there. The fact that now you've had here in Kenya, and I'm actually impressed, Dr. Olufonso, on how you know even where to get funds here locally than we do. But I wanted to bring Akon, just a little bit, because there's a question on these funds feel like they're just for multinationals, and before they get down to the micro-sized projects or those kind of things, it sounds like it's foreign. What would you contribute on this, on how you manage to successfully do this? Let me bring you in, Sheila.
I really think it's important for all institutions, to really believe in what they're doing and put in place the systems to assure long-term sustainability of the organizations. Because regardless of whether you're obtaining funds from the Green Fund Climate or from any other investors, I just think it's critical for us to start thinking about the longevity and sustainability, of the organizations that we're establishing today. And the only way to make sure that actually succeeds is to have systems in place. Now, if I can just come back to the Akon experience, when we thought, or when we decided to go and raise the green bond, at that time, it had not been done locally, and the requirements looked like they would be impossible to achieve. But what we decided to do is to look at it from a very, from a big picture perspective, but also, to be able to climb the mountain step by step. So in the first instance, what are the requirements? So for example, for the green bond, I've just talked about the green bond reporting principles and the framework. And also Lufonso has just mentioned the conditions that, you'd naturally require to be accredited to be able to be part of the Green Climate Fund. And it's just to put those measures in a very incremental, in a scalable way as well, and in a simple way. I'll give an example. For us to be able to raise the funds, the first thing that the projects have to have a positive environmental impact. We had to look for a global certification that would indeed prove that the projects have an environmental impact. We settled for the IFC Edge platform. Why did we settle for IFC Edge? It's a very simple to use platform. It's very scalable, and they walk you through the process. We have several other certifications that are available in the market. So it's just to look at that universe, do a bit of research, and then also bring awareness, into our industries, to the different sectors, for people to appreciate what would be required. Once that is done, start lobbying with various organizations. Like I mentioned earlier, we had a lot of support, from the Kenyan Bankers Association, from CBK, from the Capital Markets Authority, even from the government, because the interest from the green bond for the institutional investors is actually tax exempt. So I think it's now to start to engage with your industry of stakeholders. How do we get help for this? How do we lobby for this? How do we get policy to support what we are doing? And I think through those small, simple, incremental steps, you're able to achieve, the goal eventually. Also, it's important, as Olufonso had mentioned earlier, that FDB now does the hand-holding for organizations that would like to get accredited. And I think for other private institutions who would like to, get a piece of this very tiny cake, it's important to just get to be handheld, to get in touch, to get to be held by an organization that has actually been able to do it successfully, and then transfer the learnings, institutionally to your people, and then be able to upskill. So I really think from our experience, it was an issue of what are the requirements? Are they achievable? Yes, they are. Then how is the best way to be able to achieve this? And I really believe that for the African context, we can be able to achieve this.
Okay.
If I can just circle back to what I said earlier, in terms of the fact that for the Green Climate Fund, it was supposed to raise 10 billion per year, annually, but to date, it only has a 10 billion.
Oh.
If you look at globally, sustainable funding at the moment in the sustainable space, whether it's social bonds, green bonds, whatnot, it's at about 1 trillion. But the only bit that has been invested in Africa is just a paltry 2% of that, 2% of that. Mm-hmm. And so this speaks to us also as the African society to start lobbying on pushing forth what's the local context that we has, and how that plays into what the global requirements are. Because, for example, if I give an example of Edge, what would be required from a building in Europe or in America because of issues of funding, because of the weather, issues of heating, because of the weather patterns and things like that, does not apply the same to us in Africa. So I think it's also for us as Africans to take charge of what our local context is. We know our continent the best, and be able to push for what we think should be included in those conditions.
Wow. Thank you so much for diving into those other questions that were addressed. I don't know, I only have room for one question physically here. Anybody? Going once, twice?
Can I jump in on a
yes,
point?
please jump in. Jump in 45 seconds, yes.
So within the GCF, and remember yesterday we were talking about different instruments, and the need to expand the instrument menu, from concessional loans to beyond grants, to other types. And I think the bond that Sheila is talking about is the good work we're doing across the continent in expanding the financial instruments available to us. But let me also be very clear. The scale of financing that we need is not going to come by grants or by concessional loans alone. I want to be very honest with you. We need to be able to help our people understand the language of money within the global financial system. Money is not necessarily scarce. The biggest challenge is distribution. Again, I'm going to say this. Look, there's a country in Europe called Norway with a population of 5.4 million people. 5.4 million people, a country called Norway. Norway has a sovereign wealth fund, and that's not annual GDP, sovereign wealth fund of $1.3 trillion. So this is the money they've kept aside for investment, for business, and for the future generation. Now, you're not going to go to Norway and say, look at us in Africa, we're vulnerable, come and help us. No. But you can go to Norway and say, we can do business together. Here's a value. We can propose value to you. We can do green buildings. We can do resilient infrastructure, and you can invest in it, and you can have your returns. And we can blend grant resources together with that to be able to have the massive injection of climate resilient infrastructure and low carbon development interventions that we need. And that is something that is very important. Look, I'm an African. I understand these things. We can do all of these, help us. We are vulnerable. We didn't cause this climate change thing. It's not going to take us anywhere. Sure. This is COP27. Every time you hear COP20 something or 28, just know that it's taking us this long to be able to say the same thing over and over again. It is high time we did business differently in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. But before I close, there's only one question online that has just been texted here. How do we scale these funds to micro-sized projects such as SMEs? I think the SMEs that are doing projects down there. So I don't have time, and I want to give just 30 seconds on what you believe, especially for you, Dr. Olufonso. How can we scale to micro-sized projects or SMEs? 30 seconds.
Is that to Sheila?
No, that's to you.
I think you can go.
But even Sheila can actually answer. Do you think we can scale this funds to small scale SMEs?
Absolutely. No, so it's also important to know that not all of us have to be accredited under GCF, not all of us. What is important is that within those accredited entities, it's important to build the pipeline of projects that will be financed. And we also need to know that as much as we say small is beautiful, large is very relevant. So we need to be able to aggregate small pieces of projects together in order to be able to access bigger capital chunk, but implementation can still be decentralized. You can do those small pieces together. So I suppose taking a $2 million project to GCF, it's better for you to aggregate them in small pieces to about 200 million and so. So it's important. If you don't need to get accredited, but you can knock on the doors of those who are already accredited, and your project can be part of their pipeline. Thank you.
Okay, Sheila, you have something to say on that?
I think I just add on to what Olufonso has said. For me, it would also be to look at the other sources of capital that we have available, because there's actually a lot of money that's been committed internationally for sustainable projects. And it's to look at those funds, look at what the requirements are, and be able to systematically prove, that we're able to meet those demands and be at the same playing level, as Olufonso had said earlier. And I think for me, what's important is to bring out the fact that we have to have the African local context from an environmental perspective.
Yeah.
Bring that to the table and show them how do we transition and achieve, where we want to go to, because it won't happen overnight. If we don't put in place incremental changes every day, it won't happen overnight. And the one thing I'd also like to just raise and share is, let's look around us. The climate is affecting all of us. what Olufonso said earlier is very true. Whether we were part of this climate impact earlier or not is no longer at play at the moment. Look at food security, look at issues of drought, look at issues of flooding. It is right here with us. And so we have to change how we do business. Yes, putting local context into place and also applying incremental changes. Thank you.
Okay. Jemima, did you have something? I only have now, I've been called by the director twice, so I have 30 seconds. And so if it's specific to anyone, just throw it in. Go.
This is to the African Development Bank. How can we gain the capacity to talk money, the language of money? I know you've mentioned a lot on capacity and you have it within the African Development Bank, so how can we access that?
Dr. Olufonso, 30 seconds.
Well, just talk to us nicely. We're very good people. But I think it's a very good question, and that's the push that we are making everywhere right now. Some of our publications are trying to reach, critical mass of people in helping them understand that, look, we need to look beyond GCF. There are more opportunities out there. There are new innovations coming up, and we need to be able to try them. Beyond that as well, so that's the biggest way of reaching, the fastest and best way of reaching a lot of people. But also we're working with government themselves to look internally into what are the new opportunities. It's not just about learning what is happening in other countries, but what can we engineer locally? So I would just extend to you that next time we have our training on, I don't want to call it the language of money, but something similar to that, we'll extend an invitation to you. But yeah, just talk to us nicely. We're very good people.
Thank you so much, Dr. Olufonso in Kigali. Sheila, I know you're out of the country. I don't know where you are as well, but thank you so much as well for really creating time. And I know, Sheila, it was quite on short notice, but thank you so much for coming through. We appreciate your comments, and say hi to the rest of the persons around you. For the physical members present, thank you so much for your participation. I know I've eaten into your tea break, but I've been allowed to give you just 15 minutes of that. Then so you can grab your cup of tea. I think even 15 minutes is too much. Just grab it, get back here, then I'll inform you what is next immediately after that. So let's dash to our tea break.
Crop was born out of an idea of being able to really develop the potato industry. I originally came to Kenya about 11 and a half years ago. So I did start my first farm in the Kasambara area in Nakuru. It was a 4.5 acre farm. I didn't really know before I got here what I was going to do with that farm, but I said, I'm going to try a little bit of my own farming. So when I moved into the Nyandarua area, expanded my operations, really saw that seed production could be something that I could see myself doing, but really quickly realized that seed production, to get from a starting material all the way through to an end product, is that it requires large chunks of land. And I saw the scenario in Kenya where our land sizes for farming are not getting bigger, it's only getting smaller. So I took from my concept of being able to contract with a lot of my farmers in my area. So Fresh Crop was going to be a decentralized seed production company that could offer all the solutions that are challenging a lot of the farmers that are currently farming right now, of that access to finance, access to good high quality seeds, access to mechanization, access to good agronomy services, and then most importantly, market. When Kraft had the co-investment, that they wanted to invest directly with private industry and private companies, it really was something that I was really interested in. We could come together and do it as a team. We can make a lot bigger of an impact. So that's where I saw that it could be beneficial, get double our impact, in that every dollar that we invested, they would also be able to invest, because we really shared the vision of being able to support smallholder farmers.
We are training our farmers on use of certified seeds so as to increase their yield. We are also teaching them on climate smart agriculture. Since we started this, we have introduced certified seed to the farmers, and we are noting a great change because comparing to the seeds they used there before and the certified seeds, there's a great difference. We are also meeting with the groups whereby we are introducing maybe new technologies like surface planting, whereby this is a minimum soil disturbance. Yes, and we are getting result out of that. This demo that is set here, we have two farmers. One adopted to the climate smart agriculture, while the other one didn't adopt. There is a great difference. One, the farmer who didn't use the climate smart agriculture, the spacing is not like the one that we used. As you can see, the yield from this one always obviously will be high compared to the other one. And also in the case of maintenance, the one who has not adapted to the climate smart agriculture has used a lot of fungicides because one, he didn't use the certified seed, but the other one, management is minimal. The cost is minimal. We have Paul who didn't follow the practices, and we have another farmer who followed the practice, and maybe I would like you to hear what he has to say.
Wakati nilianza kupanda, nilitumia tu ile kienyeji kwa sababu kuna ile saa tunasema ukosefu wa pesa, tena ukosefu wa maarifa. Kwa mfano hii shamba yangu, kutoka mwanzo unakuta kwingine spacing iko chini, ingine iko sawa, ingine tena mbegu yenyewe ni ile tu ya kawaida. Kuchukua store na kuweka. Nikiangalia kulingana na mkulima mwenzangu mwenye amesaidika kupitia mafunzo, kwa mavuno mimi naona nitakuwa chini kabisa nikilinganisha na yeye. Kitu cha pili, wakati yeye analima hana ile labor kubwa kama mimi, kwa sababu mimi nitalima mara ikifika 3, yeye atatumia just once. Kitu cha kwanza chenye nitafanya, nitatafuta mbegu zilizo sahihi na mbolea. Upanzi wangu nitautumia kulingana na vyenye yeye alifunzwa. Kifanya hivyo naona mavuno yatakuwa mengi na tena kazi itakuwa chache. Nimemfuatilia kwa karibu, nikaona yeye ashaingia kwa kikundi, nami nikamfuata. Sasa kupitia hicho kikundi kupata mbegu itakuwa rahisi kuliko nikiwa mimi kivyangu. Hizi mbegu tutazipata kutoka kwa kampuni ya Fresh Crop ambayo inasaidia wakulima.
In potato farming, the game changer will be one, use of certified seed because of high yield and they are disease free. Secondly is the proper management of the crop, that is early weeding, and also use the GAP, that is good agricultural practices. We also use the mulching because of holding water and proper harvesting, use of mechanized harvesting, or for small scale farmers they can use the proper tools for harvesting, and finally proper storage of the potatoes.
We started harvesting this season to right now we've produced almost 5.5 million kilos. That's between all of the fresh crop owned farms and all of our outgrowers. Right now we're in about 3 or 4 counties, but we have expanded our TOT program to reach 7 counties. This also allows us to be farming as one. And when we farm as one, that allows us to be unified on our front for our prices that we're actually bringing to the market. So I always tell our farmers that if we really get organized, we can be producing all year round in at least one of our regions.
After we were onboarded on Craft and signed our MOU in February of 2021, we were able to get number 1 linkages, which are very important for us. Our first linkage was with Fresh Crop, and we were able to sign a 5 years MOU with Fresh Crop, whereby they provide for us seeds, that is basic seeds, worthy of 5 acres every season, and we are able now to have seeds for multiplying and remultiplying throughout the season.
There's a lot of different things that decentralized helps in that it brings seed closer, it enables us to be able to bring services closer to these farmers, and then enables them a higher level of production at their farms. We've actually set up demo irrigations at some of our TOT sites. They can actually bring farmers to their smaller sections of irrigation. The hub site model, we offer our agronomy services. Part of the agronomy services is being able to hire a full-time agronomist that we can offer out to every one of our growers in this region.
So we do start with mother plants, we call apical cuttings, and produce them all the way to what we call a seed that is given to farmers as the end product for them to go and plant. But what farmers will say is, how sure are we that this crop is going to produce? So that is where Craft SNV has come in. They are helping us empower a lead farmer in a specific area to produce these seeds so that the people in the region can see, and eventually they are going to trust whatever we are offering and they're going to buy. So initially they would harvest 3 to 4 tons in an acre. So that's a very low margin, making the profits very low. But now they are planting a ton of seed or even less in an acre, and they're doing all the way up to 10 tons. We are teaching them to do proper prior planning. So they are preparing their land when it's hot, when the sun is still shining, when it's still bright, so that the land can get, a good moisture, good aeration before the onset of the rains. So all the way from land preparation, they have changed. They are now trying to do their land very nicely, not with a lot of clumps, but now fine soil. And then on planting, we've talked about, buying certified seed and then planting and then not doing the furrows, but actually doing the ridging.
This is our demo at one of our hub sites. And the reason that we really wanted to go deep into this demo was to be able to introduce farmers to being able to compare all the different products from all the different companies that are out there in one specific location.
There is no clear space for youth, especially in cooperatives. And what we are trying to achieve with this workshop is creating the space for youths. And the space that we are creating is in 3 levels: in leadership, as experts, and as youth farmers who will champion climate interventions. The greatest challenge from experience in cooperatives is lack of information to the young people, how they can participate, what is this space that is available for them, these issues of access to land, access to finance. As much as young people have ideas of how to bring climate smart agricultural practices to cooperatives, they don't have land to practice. They don't have money to finance these ideas and initiatives that they are bringing to the table. There is also lack of willingness from the older generation to hand it over to the young people, especially the knowledge they have, the experience they have, some bit of land, and just allowing that space for young people to experiment. And if they don't experiment, we'll not get these ideas moving.
Back there at the villages, majority of our youths have not embraced farming. Basically, potato farming, dairy farming. So they started so that to bring us abroad and also to mentor us. Remember that after the management or the board of the Starlight have retired, who is going to take over from there? So that's the one agenda or the main reason they brought us abroad.
As a youth and a young woman in agriculture, inclusivity to me means that I don't have to be excluded in matters agriculture, as we've seen in most cases, because we don't have land at our age, we don't have resources, we don't have a lot of money because agriculture is capital, intensive. And to me, it means that our voice must be heard, that we must be included in the agricultural sector as young women and as a youth. In terms of CSA agriculture, as we normally call it, it means that I've seen young people being very much faster in adapting the technology, changing their mindset very fast, and learning how to implement what CSA is than the aged. What is helping us as youth group is putting us in place and empowering us to to understand that agriculture is not dirty, because unfortunately that is what most of the youths believe. And so it's like a leadership training to show us that we can actually do better than the aged people, because you see, when it comes to adaptation, youths are much faster than the aged, and also to change the mindset and the attitude of the youths towards agriculture.
This is a very interesting workshop, and we have quite a number of young people. I see a lot of motivation, a lot of passion, because we've given them the information, we've given them the skills and the knowledge that they need to participate. Like we've been talking about cooperatives, how they work. Many young people don't understand because they pursue non-agricultural courses, so they don't understand how cooperatives work, how they are governed, the 7 principles, and what opportunities are there, especially for a project like CRAFT, that is Climate Resilient Agribusinesses for Tomorrow. So we've been able to identify together with them in the value chain, how can they intervene. For this project, indeed, it's about innovation and changing, because indeed climate change is real. And you see, the older generation are a bit stuck in the older way of doing things. Yes, they appreciate we have climate change, but their willingness to move is the problem. And now we have young people who are willing to move and to implement some of these ideas. So it means there's a lot of hope and future for climate smart practices if it will be championed by young people like the ones from Starlight.
My name is Matthias Muliro. I work for Topical Ventures Limited, and I'm the project manager for CRAFT project. What we do at Topical Ventures, we purchase grain grams from farmers in Seikuru, specifically Seikuru ward, and we've been encountering challenges as we have been purchasing this grain from farmers, mostly in terms of quality. And when I'm talking about quality, I'm talking about the variety that we are purchasing from farmers and the cleanliness of the grain as we get it from farmers. You will notice that there is a particular variety that we need, that is N26, but what we get from farmers is usually a mixture of N26 and other varieties that are not needed in the market where we're taking the grain grams to. The reason for partnering with the SNV through this project was to address these two issues. The purpose of this field day was to bring all those people together, take this knowledge to farmers, and also just create synergies of working relationships, how we can make the grain gram value chain much better. One of the things that we do with the farmers in the project, apart from the trainings that we implement to teach them more about good agricultural practices, about climate smart agriculture practices, and all these other practices that make grain gram farming successful, we work closely with the Ministry of Agriculture to make sure that whatever technical knowledge to take to farmers is the correct information that they get. We're also partnering with the county meteorological services. This helps us to determine, in terms of following weather patterns, to advise farmers and give them the right information. This is how the rains are going to behave this time around. So for that reason, this is the right time to prepare your land. This is the right time to plant. And this is the right time to, do all these other things when it comes to land preparation and ensuring that we get a good yield from the erratic rainfall that we get in this area.
Kitui County is categorized under arid and semi-arid area. That is what we call ASAS. It is because of the amount of rainfall that we get in this county, Kitui. They range between, like this season, which is just ending, March, April, May season, which we normally call it long rains, but actually the shortest rain season in this area of Kenya. The rain range between 150 to 350 millimeters. Very few crops can grow to maturity with that kind of amount of rainfall, and especially when the distribution is poor in time and space. And that is what we experienced in this season. The rain started very late and they ended very early than predicted. And the distribution was so bad. It will be good or better for the farmers to adapt to climate change. Before the onset, we normally have what we call the PSP, public scenario participation. We cannot invite every farmer, but we pick representatives of the wards, farmers that are key in every ward. And then we also involve the scouts, the sub-county agricultural officers, who also come and communicate to the YS, that is Ward Agricultural Extension Officers, Ward Livestock Extension Officers. We take them through the forecast of that season, and with them, they help us to develop agro-weather advisories, whereby we discuss, based on this amount of rainfall in this region or zone of Kitui County, what crops can grow to maturity. We also have crops that can survive with this kind of rainbow patterns, and that is something like green grams, cowpeas, pearl millet, and sorghum. So a farmer needs to have weather information ready with him or with her for proper preparation. This would have costed me a lot, but as SNV and Tropical Avengers, they have really made it easy for us, and also as a government. So if we can have more of this happening, it will really help our people to understand what weather is and how they can incorporate it in their farming practices.
Before we started the project, the production of the yield per acre was not very good. It was at about 180 something kgs per acre. Now we are now going into the second season of doing this project with Craft, and by season I'm talking about the growing and maturity and harvesting of the green grams. So the biggest change that we've noticed is that there have been some improvement in yields, and this is mainly attributed to the kind of climate smart technologies that we are using. Like right now we are using Reaper technology, which is something new that we've introduced to farmers currently, and because of that technology you realize with the little rain there's a lot of moisture retention in the ground, so that makes the green grams at least persevere the dry season, and the yields are slightly better than what we used to have before.
check. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching us online, welcome back. We have an amazing session right now where we're going to see what's happening at the booth sector, where a lot of people are there, and you can see some what's happening in the booths. We have E+ there, really just showcasing what they have, and representatives of the different companies that we have today. We have some of the attendees physically as well visiting in, and just enjoy the view and see what's happening. If you feel that you want to contact us or to contact any of these providers of the services we're seeing, feel free to reach out through the contact details that have been available, even the social media handles as well. So that's E+, and as you can see, they have several items here from the first day, the ambulances they offer, things like that. And they'll also be doing a wonderful presentation later on here. And I think we have another sector there, that's craft, climate resilient agribusiness for tomorrow, who are also present, and we had a session today, earlier on in the panel discussion, and they spoke a lot about them. They have a lot of items there, and all the people present are able to come and see. And yesterday we saw that innovation about the unga, and they did some amazing practical demonstration. As you can see, they're still grinding some there, so you don't have to worry about the cost of unga with such a gadget, such a machine as well. And we hope that the people can really embrace that. Very small, easy to go by, easy to really change a community and the likes. 65 kilos per hour. That's what they say it can do, and it's been practically shown right here. Very well done and all that. And you can make your way here to come and see and interact with what's happening here. DFCD as well and the likes, and there's an explanation there of what's going down, as you can see, for the participants that are live here. So remember, if you have any questions, how to reach out, how to get this as well, you can interact with us on the social media handles, sending a message and the likes. There's another booth there, and I can see some participants as well receiving items, ideas, asking questions and the likes. I can see something to do with polythene. This is ICHA, yes, this is ICHA. And they had an amazing time here, International Center for Humanitarian Affairs. Great place where they have spoken about what they're doing, a lot of research. We had an amazing session yesterday as well, speaking of what they're doing on the ground. Information-based solutions, reaching out to the people and seeing what can be done based on the informed ways of doing things, statistics and the likes. Alvatech Water Solutions, amazing people. These ones are a game changer as well when it comes to smart agriculture. The things that they are doing, machinery that they're doing as well to reduce the salinity of water, especially that has really caused some places in the semi-arid areas and arid areas, the dry places that has water that can't be consumed by the crops and the plantations. They have solutions for that to make dry lands become arable by giving water solutions. And we shall have as well a demonstration here today, a practical example of what they can do right here later on during the day. And so you can follow up. We had a panel discussion earlier on, and we had Yariv speak quite closely about what they are doing and the places that they are located and the locations they're doing this. They mentioned about Lamu and the likes. So this was well done, and we shall be having more practical examples being displayed here right after some of the presentations that we're going to have today. So do you have water salinity challenges? Alvatech will give you all those solutions that they have said. So really amazing technology that we are seeing there that can really have a change of how we do agriculture. So dry land, saline water is no longer a challenge. As you can see what he's explaining there, if you look at that crop, it looks a bit yellowish. It's because of the salinity that really causes them not to be fruitful enough as they expected. But when they bring in this particular technology, things change, and you're able to have good water for the crops, and they can grow in whatever place that there is. So there's no more challenge towards that. Remember, this is an award-winning initiative. This is an award-winning technology that has really seen the game-changing activities happening right there. I can see another booth there that we're being shown. I'm about to read about it. This is, I can see EcoSave Africa. Yeah, EcoSave Africa. That's great. Wastewater treatment. Don't we need this? And I like the fact that they're also here to really help us understand what can be done to save our waters. I can see EcoSurfy, EcoTreat. They'll be telling us more about what exactly can be done there. So if you are within, please make a point to visit that particular place, get to know what's happening. The waste digesters there, so at least to make your water safe, not only for your crops, but maybe probably even for consumption. So go find out, walk in there. You might end up going with better products at better costs, maybe. I think we're trying to see what's inside there. We've already seen some darkness, but we believe there's something nice happening there. So great, and that's what we have. Oh, I can see another booth there. I would want to know what it is about. I can see some. We can see some junior staff there. This is the Bandari Circle, the financiers, where you can go and get something there. Akiba Ushirika Maendeleo. So this is it, and they even have junior accounts there. So visit them, go find out where can you get your finances for your kids, for your projects. And I want to believe, since we're talking about green funding, I want to believe they could be probably part and parcel of the people who can give you some funds there. So if you're an SME or you're doing small initiatives in a small scale, you can reach out to them and they can give you a thing or two. I want to believe our online participants, you can see all there. That's there, themselves, their motto, power to succeed, their values as well. Great place to go and see for yourselves. And I believe you're informed, so if you didn't manage to make it here, you can as well have that virtual feel of what is happening. So there you have it, and so I want to request all the physical participants, now you can get yourselves back here. And I want to request also our floor managers to help us up to get back. We want to get ready for our presentations. Thank you so much for that session. And we have presentations courtesy of the E+. We also have the Alvatech in the house, and also the EcoSave Africa, who are going to be presenting to us in the next 1 or so minutes. But I can see that E+ are ready to go. So I want to pass this particular session to you, so that at least we can begin. But I want to request that we just have a sort of like a 2-minute break as the people are getting in, the physical people who are just outside. For online audience, just enjoy a bit of the views there, then we can get back. So we could have a video or so play so that at least the physical participants can walk in. And just to remind you, this conversation as well is ongoing on Twitter. Remember, you can chat with us. Let us know what are your takeouts as well. What are your questions? So are you taking something in? This has been day 2 of this amazing Africa Climate Forum, where we are speaking matters to do with the current status of the climate. Now, remember, this is not only ongoing, it's currently happening. I started off with a preamble of the fact that, hey, this world needs to wake up, Just a quick reminder, I checked out, and I was shocked at what we are seeing at the newsletters that we have. It was great to know that people are beginning to wake up. Listen to this. It's hot. The runway at London airport melted. You can't have a question about that. It's hot. A museum roof melted in China. Imagine. So that's a different continent. So it tells you it's not just in one particular place. It's hot. They are wrapping the London Bridge in foil just to avoid it from melting. It's hot. They've painted the railroads, white in London. Imagine that. And then it's hot. Pipes are busting in Texas. The point is, we better be careful. We better be watchful, because you can't say it's another time, it's another season. So I'm going to leave you with a video for now as we get ready for the presentations. Take a look.
Hi, my name is Lauren Wikali Njuguna, General Manager of Starlight Farmers Cooperative Society. We are based in Nakuru County, and Starlight specializes in the potato value chain. On this International Potato Day, we celebrate the potato farmer, and our focus is empowering the farmer to increase their productivity through provision of certified seed and empowering them with skills and technologies to adapt to climate-smart agriculture. Remember, you'll always need potatoes, you'll always need a farmer.
Hey guys, I'm Chris Gasperi from Fresh Crop Limited. I just want to wish you guys a happy Potato Day. I just want to give you one real quick fun fact about potatoes. If you're a weightlifter out there, I don't know if you guys know, but you can actually get more protein from potatoes than you can actually get from whey. So the next time you guys go into the potato aisle, you weightlifters out there, pick up a potato, get those protein fixes that you guys need, and pump those muscles. And happy International Potato Day.
My name is Patrick Agadi. I work for an organization called Agritera, an agri-agency from the Netherlands supporting cooperatives and farmer organizations across the world. Agritera within Craft is taking the lead in cooperative development, and we use a three-pronged approach in our capacity development and strengthening. First, we use peer-to-peer learning approaches where farmers are also bringing their knowledge and expertise to other peer farmers in a different context and different setup. So that is one of our approach. Another approach that we use is trainings, and we have developed different training programs, particularly focused for cooperatives and farmer organizations. And these help address challenges to do with financial management, governance, organizational development, and strengthening of the institutional framework of these organizations to be able to tackle the challenges that are in the business, in the market setup. The third approach that we normally use is exchange, where we take some farmers from one region, from their locality, to another well-performing farmer organization so that they can learn by seeing, because we believe farmers learn better by seeing and also touching. And this combination of the three approaches that we've been using under the Craft has helped moving or learning from one farmer group to another, or one cooperative to another, to be able to learn the best practices in climate resilient practices, as well as in business practices. Cooperatives, I believe, can be able, have the potential to transform the livelihoods of the rural smallholder farmers. And as we know, 70% of our food across the world is produced by smallholder farmers. So they play a very, very critical role in our food security, and as well, they also play a very, very critical role in terms of climate action. So I would want to call upon everyone to really support cooperatives, because they have the capacity, but they don't have the tools that are required, from financial tools, from also business linkages tool, and you see also private sector linkages are not really putting the pivotal role played by cooperatives as rural transformation tools. I really appreciate the role cooperatives play in strengthening the rural economies and rural households.
There you have it, and we are back. We want to appreciate that this is now a session of very quick 3 presentations that we're going to have. One of it is E+, another one is Alvatech, and another one as well is by Ecosive Africa. And so at this particular time, I want to welcome E+. They have a quick presentation, so you are welcome, so that at least we can hear from you. Karibu sana.
Yeah, asante sana to Mr. Maina and team. Good afternoon, everyone. Both to our physical attendees and our online community, karibuni sana to this forum. My name is Felix Mosila. I handle communications and public relations for a company known as E+, or Emergency Plus Medical Services. And today I do have a brief presentation on what basically E+ is all about, our products, our services, and our brief history. I am more than sure that you can be able to benefit from a few products and services that we do offer. So first slide, please. About us, the Emergency Plus Medical Services, or in briefly, E+, is a private commercial company which is fully owned by the Kenya Red Cross Society of Kenya. We were established in the year 2010, and our main area of focus is pre-hospital medical care and ambulance services. We do offer these ambulance services on a corporate social responsibility basis, or CSR, and also on a commercial basis, meaning that we do seek to make some money out of it so that we can support the humanitarian work or activities of the Kenya Red Cross Society. We have operations in all the 47 counties within Kenya, and we also do have operations in Tanzania. We are just about to officially launch our operations in Tanzania, and we do also operate in the Republic of Gambia. Next slide. Briefly, our products and services, you have what we call membership subscription services. We have individual ambulance cover, we have a family cover, we have school, we have estate, we have corporate, we have residential, and then you have SACCO. Meaning that for every unit of the family or for every unit of the society, we do have a tailor-made product and service for them. We also operate what you call standby services. For example, in this forum, we have provided this forum with a fully equipped ambulance. It is just there, known as an SCLS, Advanced Cardiac Life Support Ambulance. We also do events coverage. We cover funerals, we cover weddings, we cover corporate events, we cover school function and the likes. We also do undertake fumigation services. We have also partnered with 3 counties in Kenya, that is Kiambu County, Kakamega, and Narok counties. I'm sure most of you who have been to those counties will appreciate that we have supplied those counties with ambulance services. In other words, we run their entire county ambulance service. We also did partner with the government, to the Ministry of Health, to provide the ambulance coverage in the entire republic. This was mostly during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. We also do have provide air evacuation services through a third-party air ambulance provider. We also do have what you call eDoc, which is a telemedicine platform. You can be able to log in and see a doctor. That doctor can be able to diagnose you. You can be able to get your medicine or your drugs delivered to you without having to physically interact with the doctor. You also do provide home care services. I'm sure most of you may have, your loved ones at home who may have, what you call terminal diseases. You're able to come to their homes. We provide oxygen. We provide palliative care. We provide home care services to those people who may have, who may need our services at home. We also do provide what you call medical taxi. This is basically anyone who has been discharged from hospital and they are willing to go home and they would want to be accompanied by some form of medical help. We also come in and plug in that. We also hire ambulances on a daily basis, and on top of that, we also sell first aid kits. Both, all types of first aid kits that are available in the market, we are able to offer that. Next slide, please. Operations, this is our dispatch center. This is basically the nerve center of operations. This is where all the calls from the Republic of Kenya are domiciled. We are able to receive a call, dispatch an ambulance within the shortest time possible, and also offer what you call medical support, before the ambulance, reaches out to you. It is manned by qualified medical professionals, and it is equipped with the latest technology, zone control and 3CX. That means that we're able to track every ambulance, that is out there, the speed, the direction, and also where it is heading. Next slide, please. Sorry about that. We have our capability. These are the two types of ambulances that we do have. We have a Land Cruiser, which is basically suited for a rough terrain, and we do have an SCLS, an advanced cardiac support ambulance. This is the first LS ambulance is basically more or less like a mini hospital. They imported, and ready-made for the Kenyan market. They are fully air-conditioned. They are fully tropicalized for the African climate. They are fitted with both the HF and VHF communication, meaning that if you are to request for an ambulance in a place like Moyale, we are able to, communicate with you even in areas that you have, difficulty in terms of mobile service telephony, provision. And then they are fixed with the GPS tracking, so we're able to track our ambulances, wherever they may be within Kenya and also East Africa. Next slide. These are the different products that you have. I did talk about, home care. This is providing professional medical health care at the comfort of your home. We have done this. We have had people who are recovering from COVID-19 being given oxygen at their homes. We've had people who have terminal illnesses, for example, cancer, and they would want medical support at home. We have been able to provide that service. We do also have what you call individual membership for mom and dad. This basically means that if you have your parents back at home or back in the village and they are a bit aged, you can be able to get an ambulance, an emergency evacuation service for them at a very minimal fee of 2,500 shillings per parent per year. So this basically means that your parents can get unlimited emergency ambulance services 24/7. Meaning even if your parents back at home are to request for an ambulance from January to December, you will only charge you 2,500 shillings for the entire year. Next slide, please. We also have what you call family membership. You can get a membership for your family. The family unit will consist of, the husband, the wife, and 4 children. They are entitled to get unlimited emergency ambulance services. And this is very beneficial for them because, if you are to go to other service providers, they will charge you roughly about 10,000 shillings for every evacuation. But for us, we charge you 6,000 shillings for the entire family per year. So that's a good bargain. We also have a corporate membership for any corporate that would want to have that membership for their staff members. We already do cover that. We have a couple of companies. We have Safaricom on board. So we're able to provide, this corporate unlimited emergency ambulance services for all the Safaricom staff within the Republic of Kenya. So that goes a long way in demonstrating our capacity and the capability in that area. Next slide, please. We also do, like I mentioned, we also do sale of first aid kits. We have car kits. We have occupational kits. We have an office kit. If you want to, procure a kit for your office for occupational hazard purposes, we're able to cover that. We also do have a personal kit that you can be able to place at your homes. We also have what you call a universal kit, which is basically used for general and household use. We also do provide an ambulance cover for the estates that you live in. If you are in an estate of more than 50 residents, you can be able to have this residential ambulance cover. We'll try as much as possible and place the ambulance near your estate 24/7 so that in case any one of you would be in need of this ambulance cover, we're able to rush to your house and provide that service for you. So this, in regards to this residential ambulance cover, the annual subscription per household is only 2,500 shillings. But we do require that you have a minimum of 50 houses or 50 households in one estate, so that it's a bit easier for us to plan on the logistics of that. We do have, we have covered Green Park Estate and then I think 5 estates along Mombasa Road. So we do have a proper capacity in that area. Next slide. In addition to that, we do have a clinic. It's called the E+ Boma Clinic. It is just next within the Boma Hotel Complex. It's a fully registered level 2 clinic. We do provide, general outpatient services. We have pharmacy, services. We do offer consultation, and it is open to everyone and anyone willing to get medical help. Next slide. Yeah, award certifications. We are a super brand for 3 years in a row, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. Sorry about that. Like I did say, we are a super brand 3 years in a row, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and also most recently 2021, 2022. And it's also important to note that we are the only emergency medical service in Africa who is a super brand. In addition to that, our managing director, her name is Madam Susan Ngonga, has also won an award in the National Diversity and Recognition Awards in 2020. We also did win an award last year for the most valuable COVID-19 response. We are the only emergency medical service provider in Africa who undertook the most number of COVID evacuations. And I'm sorry about that. I'm sure you're not able to see the last line, but we also won another award in COVID-19. This was in the Quality Healthcare Kenyan Awards in the year 2022. Next slide, please. This is a short pictorial of our capacity. You can see our fleet there. Like I did mention in the beginning, we have 128 ambulances spread across Kenya. The fourth picture is an interior of how an ambulance looks like. You can also see, a picture of an evacuation being conducted. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. Like I did mention, our core business is the provision of ambulance services. We are also domiciled at an exhibition booth out here. So if you have any questions, concerns about what we do, you can be able to visit our exhibition booth and learn more about our products and services. In conclusion, we also do have a fully equipped ambulance that is stationed out here. So kama hujaiona how an ambulance looks like in the interior, we encourage you to pay a visit and have a look and also ask questions about how an ambulance operates. So with that, thank you very much. Our website is www.eplus.co.ke. If you have an emergency, you can call 0700-395-395. That is a number that operates on 24/7 basis. Yeah, and we shall be of help to you. Thank you, and have a good day.
All right, thank you so much. A beautiful round of applause for the E+ group and team. And we really appreciate what they have. I don't know whether there was anybody who did not get something out of them. Is anybody with a question? You could just put up your hand and we could respond to that. But I don't see one. If there's no question, it means you are very clear. And they have gotten the message. And yesterday as well, we had another session as well, courtesy of the same team. Now, we have in the house as well, Alvatech. We had a session earlier on with one of the representatives, and he's right here. And after that, we're going to have EcoSave Africa, but Alvatech is right in the house, and they have an amazing solution that they're offering us. So I want to request the presenter to kindly go forward there and start prepping for what you have brought us. And if you have visited their physical tent right here, they have solutions for the dry areas. And they're going to demonstrate to us how does this exactly happen. You'll be able to see from the comfort of where you are if you're watching us online. And this is a game changer, as I said earlier on, because with this kind of technology, it means food security will be a thing of the past. Why? Because now the issue of salinity, water salinity that affects a lot of the crops that we have and the growth is going to be something of the past. And I can see that the team is ready to go, and I will request that we pass the microphone to him so that at least we can get to hear what they have. So right now, I take you to Alvatech to let us know what do they have for us.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm pleased to be here with you. My name is Yariv Kedar, and I would like to speak about one component that I mentioned earlier in my panel, in the panel I participated. That product is for saving water and tackling salinity, two things. That product is called Alvatec, as you can see. It's a product that was developed in Israel and in the UK. It's patented in the UK. And let us start the presentation. Please. Next. All these you are hidden slides. Next. Start with the, yes. Okay. I'll start. Can you all see? Okay, I'll start with the, it's a patent like this. You close it, and then it opens like magic here. Our company is Kedar Gap. We are operating from Israel, globally, and in Kenya. In Kenya, we're operating also with other parts of in Africa. Our team, part of our team is here, and we are doing basically food security projects and adapting technologies that can be mitigating climate change and also helping the food security needs. So climate smart agriculture, it's an integrated approach to managing landscapes and to address the interlinked challenges of food security and security climate change. This is from the World Bank definition. Next, please. Okay, when you are looking at the left-hand side, you see tomatoes, as they are grown traditionally, nothing much can be picked from these tomatoes because of two things, mainly lack of water, and when there is water, many times the water is suffering from salinity. When you do projects and you have to take in account feeding, you have to bring a success. So success is combined from many things. First thing is water. Then you have to have the market, but also you have to have the right variety and the capacity to grow it. Like you see the big difference between two farmers. This is outside his Inyata, this is outside, and inside you can see under the irrigation, you can see the difference. Next. You can see the difference in the yields, that many small tomatoes and very lousy, I'll say, hard to market compared to what is in the bag, that it's nice and big tomatoes because of tackling salinity, because of tackling bringing right varieties, and because enabling to overcome climate challenges. Next. The first sustainable solution, for sustainable solution, it needs to be relevant and visual, and then the farmer will adopt it. So if the farmer sees something that is relevant, next slide you'll understand what I explained. For instance, this is in coast of Kenya. When you see a tomato that is growing in a place that it's hot and you it can't really produce fruit because there is no proper pollination, this is what you get, actually nothing. And when you put the right treatment to tackle the salinity, next slide please, and the right variety, suddenly in the same place, you see the different like a miracle. This is what I'm meaning. It's seeing the need and also attending it to something that is visual, that the farmer can relate. Then he will know, this is worthwhile for me. Next. When we are looking at Alvatec, Alvatec opens new horizons. What does it mean, open new horizons? I'm here in Kenya since 2007. In 2009, we started doing projects, a lot of projects with the Kenya Red Cross actually, in many drought-stricken areas. And many of the cases, we found that there is a problem that you can't grow, you can't produce. I remember going one day with the General Secretary of the Kenya Red Cross, Dr. Abbas Gulet, and we flew to, that was 2016, okay? We flew to Kakuma, a refugee camp, and the Kenya Red Cross wanted to do the first ones to be they are doing food security, not only the beans that the people are getting in the refugee camp, but also to give them some tomatoes, some green stuff. Now, we looked at the level of the water analysis, and we saw it's not possible to grow there. The level is so high that it was just impossible to grow there. And then after a couple of years, so we didn't do the project. I told him, Dr. Abbas, it's not possible for me to do it and to succeed. So we gave it up. And then in 2021, last year, even though there was COVID, but there came this amazing patent that is patented in UK, but the Israeli developed, and it's being tried even now and used in Israel in different places, especially that are suffering from salinity. And this Alvatech device is something that we got from that company Alvatech, and we said, okay, let's try it. Where shall I go the first place to test it? Let's go to the Kenya Red Cross to Lamu, where I burned my finger. I didn't burn my finger. I didn't put my hand in the fire because I knew it will burn. Now let's go to the Kenya Red Cross for the people to advise. We went and we advised, you want to test it. If you test it in Lamu, in the mainland, in Lamu mainland, Kenya Red Cross have facility for innovation, rehabilitation and innovation. They said if it will work here, it will work any place, because the water here is almost like sea level. And then we came to a place that many, many years back, we've put for them some greenhouses and some open field, and it was all neglected deserted because of the salinity. And we said, let's do it. And then we set a trial with and without. And then after a couple of months, we saw that we put some crops, we planted specially, that watermelons and sweet melons, just so we see the result. And it was quite amazing that the results that were very, very good. Until now, they're using it in that place and growing again for themselves. But they go back to the Alvatech. What is it? It's treating water. Actually, the Alvatech device has 3 components. 2 are a must, and 1 for food security projects, it's probably going to be there. The first element is a solar panel. The solar panel is creating energy from a very small panel. That goes to something we all use every day in our head, but also this device needs. This is called the brain. The brain is producing this electricity and transforming it to pulses. It's from 2 kilohertz to 28 kilohertz. Very, very fast pulses. Those pulses are going to the pipe. You can see the pipe here. Those pulses are going to the pipe. The water that is coming from one side, going to the other side, is being shocked in specific waves that were tested. And then the salinity, the water that comes with salt in it, is affected. The structure of the water is H2O. The structure of the water changed a little bit. It's still water, but it changes a little bit. This change in the structure of the water molecules is affecting the salt that is inside. Salt is combined from 2 parts. It's combined from, there are different types of salt, but most common is the salt that is in the water. It's sodium and chlorine, NaCl, sodium and chlorine. When they are together, they are unbeatable by the plant. If we will look, okay, I'll show you later on, but if you see that the water is taking the salt through. The salt is reaching the roots. The roots cannot, they are uptaking it, but the plant cannot take it out. Then the plant will suffer, and at the end of the day, it might die, or it will affect the fruit or the yield, or make it yellow. It had the very negative effects. If you take those two elements, the sodium on one hand, the chlorine on the other hand, by the shocking of the water, you break it, you have two elements. You don't have salt anymore. Two elements. You have sodium and chlorine. Two elements separate. When these elements go out and now they reach the soil, they reach the tree, then what you see is that eventually they are leaching. They are not anymore salt, they are not accumulating, they are leaching. They are composed with other chemical components, but not salt and not toxic. So the plant is relieved. If we'll see, having the present, next slide. No, sorry, go back to the other slide. Next slide. No, not front, not back, front. Okay, this is the device as it is in the field. You can go one slide ahead. This is the explanation I've given you, that the water comes in one phase, gets electrical shocked, goes out differently. Next. You can see the solar panel, the brain, the water that is coming. The water that is treated is going to the irrigation system. The irrigation system is the one that lets it go through, and there's no more problem. Next. Okay, now you can see in the left, you can see a plant that is affected negatively. It's affected by the salinity. So you see it's avocado plant, that the leaves are suffering very bad. On the right hand, you see the brown leaves, the reddish leaves, they are relieved from the salinity. So this is what the Alvatec is doing, relieving the crop from the salinity. Next. You can see there are measurements. I don't want to come to technical details, but it reduces the salinity in a very, very significant way to the level that the plant can live with it. Next. This is the Red Cross at the beginning. You could have seen that on the left, you can see that where in this row, this is where the Alvatec was implemented. You can see nice leaves. On the right-hand side, they are hardly germinating. Next. You can see these fruit were picked up just to show that there is fruit. On the other one, there was nothing. And next. Eventually, on the center, you can see where it's treated with the normal water. You can see there is some crops that grew. They are yellowish, very, very lousy fruit, if at all. On the left hand, you can see it's dark green and a nice amount of fruit. Next. Okay, so you can see there is a need. And another point of the Alvatec that I would like to mention that is very important, the Alvatec also reduces the water consumption up to 30%. It means if you have a borehole and you are pumping much less. If you are pumping the full amount from a borehole, what's happening is that the water in the borehole is getting more salinity, more salty, till eventually it will destroy it. If you are using it in dry places like here, what we see, you can see big differences with the consumption of the water. You save on the water. Why? Because the structure is changed. It's like, and now it's easier for the plant to take. Like you have a milkshake, you sip it with a straw, and if it's very, very thick, it's hard for you to pick it up. But if you are drinking water, then it's very easily going up the tube. So you can see when you are looking at the parts before and after, these places were done before the Alvatec, but using flooding in some cases, and with the time they became silent, so it can't survive on its own. Alvatec is giving the solution for that. Next. Again, drought-stricken areas, these places, they have boreholes, and these boreholes go in next, two more slides next, you'll see. You see, you can still grow and get some yields even in these dry places. Now that climate change is coming, when we are people, we have our average body temperature. What is it? About what? About what? 36.5, 30, even 37, we still say it's okay. Every place you go with the COVID, they check. If you are above 37, they start to ask questions. If we have 38, we are sick, correct? When we go out, this 1 degree, it doesn't seem much. Climate change, 1 degree higher, it doesn't seem so bad, but it's bad. Because imagine 1 degree, what it does for us. One degree more all over, it's very, very impactful. And then the water is evaporating also more. So you need more to work on saving the water, to be more effective. This is what Alvatech is doing. It's saving on the water when you are irrigating. It gives the plant what it needs, easier. And go ahead, another one. You see, so people in drought-stricken areas can still enjoy crops like these two children here. Next. We've done some different projects of food security in different places. This is in Lesotho. I will not go too much in details. I will just show you some pictures. The impact of climate change. Please, next. So 78% of the food is imported. By tackling climate change, because in the hot weather it's 40 degrees, in the cold it's coming to 0. So we had to do a project to mitigate this climate change, or in this case this climate, but it's becoming more extreme with time. Next. So we put hail nets, because next, you see this is hail coming on one of the nets. You can see it can be 100 kg per square meter, and then when you put the hail nets in that kite, this is examples of mitigating climate change, mitigating the risks of the environment climate, okay? And then when it's coming severe, there's more hail or more drought. Next. But under the net, you can see very nice skuma wiki, kales. Next. In the greenhouses, amazing, amazing. And you can see again, for this to happen in the cold weather, we put also another elements for sustaining the crop. Those elements were how you call it? Some sheets that just keep it warmer. Next. Okay, youth in agribusiness. This guy from the farming, he took his whole family, managed to get them incomes and the college and everything. Next. Here in Kenya, we are looking at several counties, the needs in these counties. I'll just mention Makueni, Kajiado, and Kisumu. Next. You can see people are praying because the main problem everyone tells you is water. Water, that is missing. Next. You can see on the right-hand side in the bottom, you can see everyone, from the small boy to the old man in the bush, everyone is carrying water. That is what the need is. This water is for drinking. They don't have enough water for irrigation because whatever they have, it's saline and they cannot use anything for crops. You can see the upper picture, taking a sand dam and just taking some water for drinking. If you want them to grow out of their poverty, they have to have some agriculture and proper agriculture that can be done by utilizing Alvatech for creating food for their own by overcoming the salinity. Next. This is Kajiado, more or less the same. They are putting the waste, they have some water in Kimana, but they are doing flooding in how you call it, in these basins. Next. Even trees, they are trying to do, WWF trying to do some, with the communities, some trees to overcome the climate change challenges, to giving the farmers fruit trees and other things for them to overcome. They also have a problem, the common problem I mentioned before, salinity. And having this salinity overcome, it's expensive for them. Now they have a solution. Next.
Towards conclusion now.
Pardon me? Yeah. Kisumu, the other problem, the opposite. They have a problem of flooding, over-flooding, and then too much water that grew reeds on their area. They have to farm now in different plots. In the other places, so it's a different problem, but even that, climate change is affecting them. Next. So the next steps, the next step is to do what we are looking at is for children, very young children, to be understanding and addressing the agriculture in a positive manner, in a positive experience, explaining them also technologies that exist, like Alvatech, like drip irrigation, like varieties, so they grow up and they can have positive experience and not see farming like the grandfather that is breaking their back with a fork djembe and trying to get some living. Next. So these are projects that we've done with the Kenya Red Cross. You can see many in my history in Kenya, projects with the Kenya Red Cross, Damajale, Dertu, Kibwezi, Loitoktok. Next. Others in Lesotho with the International Trade Center. Next. These are recommendations. These are awards that we received for the upper one is for changing lives in development nations. This was in the Israeli parliament in 2018. Another Chamber of Israel Africa award that we received, I think 2016 or so, I don't remember. Appreciation from the Israeli government. Another one next. And we have others that we didn't put. The idea is bringing modern technology that will be applicable to the small-scale farmers. When number one issue here in the drought-stricken areas in Kenya is salinity in the water, and you can grow more area, more crops by using Alvatech is an amazing solution. What I couldn't do in 2016, today I'm able to give a solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. A beautiful round of applause to Alvatech and the team. And just to remind you, they are actually right here. They have a tent, and if you have any questions, queries on how such technology can reach out to you and all, feel free to interact with them. And they will even demonstrate how this is working. We want to appreciate the work that you are doing. Ladies and gentlemen, as I told you, we had 3 presentations present, and we have EcoSave Africa as well in the house, and I would want to request that they head there to the podium and get ready to let us know what are they doing as well, in especially giving nature a fighting chance, as they say in their statement. EcoSave as well within, and if you also want to interact with them after the presentation, it's an open forum, so you can still do that. And just to remind you, if you have any questions to some of these presentations we have, you can as well interact with us on the social media handles, and we'll be able to address them to the presenters as well. I can see that EcoSave is set and ready to go, and I want to, at this particular moment, give the microphone or the podium to them. Karibuni sana EcoSave Africa.
Thank you. My name is Daniel Wanjoke. I'm a reed expert. I do environmental protection as part of my job, and also I'm a director with a company called EcoSave Africa. I will introduce a concept, and I really appreciate what the speaker who has been on the floor has done, because it may not sound like it's a big project. What he has just told us is something that could turn around the economy of this country, because it is not normal that I would start by praising his presentation, but the country is suffering from water shortage. And water shortage is said to be like the likely cause of the next world war. That is if we ignore the Ukraine and the Russia war. The truth is, the reason why we don't have maize is because our country can no longer support normal agriculture, rain-fed agriculture. But interesting is that every day we are doing boreholes. And when you do boreholes, the water you get is saline. It's close to what you get from a lake, a salt lake. But what happens is that that water, if you cultivate with it for 3 years, the crop starts, your harvest start going down. Sorry. And the reason is because of salinity. When the gentleman was just on the podium says that they have a solution to sort issues, I got very interested. Now let me come to my presentation. My name is Daniel Wanjoki, as I said, and I'm an innovator. I started a company called EcoSave Africa in 2006. And the vision is to be a frontrunner in on-site waste management. You may wonder why on-site. It's because most of this country's sewerage system was constructed more than 40 years ago. What we have in Nairobi, Dodora, and what we have in Ruai is it's hardly able to handle 40% of our sewerage requirement. Most of our counties that are now in the 10th year since the devolution, hardly any of those counties have put up a new sewer line. And so when we say that, okay, we're developing, but the focus we have is that one day we are going to elect leaders who will do sewerage, so we call them centralized sewerage. It may never happen. And so my company introduced what we call on-site waste management. The result of our on-site waste management is to give you water that is almost as good as the one that is in your tap, but it's not exactly that good, or it's actually better for farming, but not good for drinking. We are not dwell very much on the philosophy, but we can go to the next slide. What we do is that we do on-site waste management. Your domestic waste could be your house, could be a gated community, could be a university, could be a school. Is a source of water that is highly ignored. But when we treat wastewater using a product I'm going to introduce to you today, which we call EcoTreat Waste Digester, and that is what is displayed here. It is able to efficiently and sustainably and effectively convert your wastewater into clean water that can be used for farming. If you don't require that water for farming, you can actually recharge the underground water services, and actually your neighbor downstream may have some water. I came up with a design which is displayed on the slide that is made up of 4 chambers. The 4-chambered septic tank has some benefits, which is, number one is that it is aerobic. I will come back to that and explain why aerobic. It is also compact in design because you can fit it in your garage, you can fit it in your driveway, and it is able to, it uses a multimedia filtration. You use sand, gravel, and carbon for filtration, and we allow you, the benefits of that is that you are able to reuse the water. You can save on space, that is low project footprint. You don't see it anywhere in the compound, it is just obscured, and it meets ISO and NEMA compliance. By meeting those compliance parameters, we are able to discharge the water, use it in the compound, use it for flushing toilets, or simply discharge it in the stormwater drain. You can go on, next slide. The environmental aspect of on-site wastewater management or treatment is a very, very passionate topic to me. And everywhere in the world, you may think that it's only Kenya that has a problem with sewerage. The Americas have a big problem. If you go to Europe today, they had those old wastewater treatment plants, but they are actually not able to meet the standard for discharge to the rivers. But all of our wastewater treatment, wherever in the world, anticipate that the final effluent will go to a body, a river body, a water body. But what we get from most of the treatment systems is water that does not meet NEMA standards, ISO standards, WHO standard. But you could just hold on there. We were able to crack the process of wastewater management, and this is not just for Kenya. By coming up with this product, I'm sorry for moving out of the frame, which is a EcoTreat. This is a bacteria we grow in our farm. We grow bacteria and we are able to multiply it to a volume of about 10 billion cells per liter. Bacteria of that volume will be able to break down the wastewater, the waste in the wastewater, and give you an efficiently water system that manages your waste without electricity. When you use power to manage your waste, sometimes people find it more expensive to buy tokens, to run a pump, to run a blower, to take the wastewater out. After all, so you finished with that water when you flushed. Why would I spend more money on that? So we have actually come up with that product, which I have displayed here. It has been, if you go back to the slide, you will see that we have won an international award, which is here. This is EcoSafe. That is EcoSafi. They copied my name. EcoSafi is a Ministry of Water project. And the word here says that it is first position for outstanding innovation in the international category. I would say that there were 67 countries represented at the conference, in the KICC, and the judges there actually thought this was an outstanding innovation, and they gave it the first position. However, many of you may not know about this, but I've been selling to, you may not know about this award, you may not know about EcoTreat, but I've been selling to the United States of America this product in this form. And they buy not for their local use, but for their international use. I've supplied to United Nations organization, UN FAO, and also to the various, almost processed, actually processed about 17 LPOs to the UN. And what is it? What is it that a product so basic, bacteria, can have such a big impact in the environment? Let me come now to the climate change aspect. When we use EcoTreat, it is able to break down waste through a process that does not involve formation of methane gas. As we have been growing, population has been increasing. In 1940 or thereabout, the population of the world was about 4 billion. Imagine for how many millions? 650 millions, okay. Sorry. For about 6,000 years, for those who are Christians, since the creation of the world, the population of the world has been 4 billion. But now, within 80 years, we are 80 billions. Then we decide that instead of doing like the Kikuyus and the Maasais used to do, they used to go to the bush. I don't know whether other tribes used to do this. You would go to the bush and live yourself. When you do that, the bacteria in the environment just takes care of that waste. But what happens when you decide to be a community in Kibera, 3,000 people per square kilometer or more, and then you decide that you'll be using a pit latrine or a septic tank, all that waste now generates methane gas because there's not enough oxygen to reach the waste and break it down. So my product, and that's what getting the accolades, actually eliminates the methane forming step. If you're not able to use the biogas and use it for cooking, then don't generate methane gas because that's what's causing us climate change. Climate change could be contributed to by carbon dioxide, but carbon dioxide can be used to make the plants in front of on your table is made of carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is a gas when you convert it into food, vegetation, trees, firewood on that. But methane gas has no use in this world, other than some bacteria that live somewhere in Mariana Trench, some about 11 kilometers from the surface of the ocean, and there is no way those bacteria are going to get into contact with the methane gas you have generated in your toilet. Are they able to get there? No. So we should try as much as possible to avoid methane generation. And that's where this product comes in. And every household in the world, because there's not another match for this, unfortunately, just like the zebras in Kenya, they have not, unless they painted their horses, they wouldn't get the zebra, isn't it? Zebra is East African, yeah? So this product is actually East African, and whenever you find it, it's actually East African. And it is able to break down waste devoid of methane gas, sorry. And that's where I put that here, wastewater treatment without methane gas formation. It also eliminates the need for you to exhaust, and if you use this system, it gives you clean water that you can use for greening your environment. The water is clean, just as you're drinking water, but we may not advise you to drink it, but it can be used for greening. There's a site in Kajiado. You can imagine the way Kajiado is dry. If you Google Enchula Resort, you are going to see this on Google, because it's a green oasis in the desert. And that is the resort of recycled wastewater. The poster here, the one that says organic waste management, and the last point there is zero methane generation, is actually the one that won this. Very few people would appreciate that statement. Waste management without methane gas formation. You can go to the next one. However, it's not that biogas is bad, but biogas should be harnessed and used for cooking, keeping your house warm, but never let it free in the air. So we also advise you, assist you in converting biogas, waste into biogas that can be used in the household. Next slide. My company also does environmental impact assessments and environmental audits, but I'll not dwell on that because the main issue here is how to make our development sustainable and in a affordable manner. You may ask whether, okay, what do you do with the water? We also do desalination, but you can't use this system for irrigation. It has a very small yield and it's very expensive. And that's why I was so happy when I heard the speakers talk about this system. Next slide. We developed this product from liquid, in a liquid format, like what is in the 10-liter jerrycan. This handles a household with 10 people, but when the Americans started asking for the product, I couldn't send this one because it can go by air. So we developed a solid formulation. This is a bacteria dried through a process called lyophilization. I hope I've said that correct. Lyophilization. That's the drying of the bacteria that does not kill it, but instead convert it into spores. And this is what we sell to more than 14 countries around East Africa. And finally, I talk about a small product called Odalex. This is a product made from this product, but we inject it into pumice. Pumice is what you get in Longonot and somewhere around Kibwezi. This product actually replaces, this product replaces what we call naphthalene mothballs. And naphthalene mothballs are one of the biggest risks in our life because unlike cigarettes, which contain nicotine, and they are accused of causing cancer, naphthalene itself has almost 100 times more cancer-causing ability. And what do you do when you go to your Uranus? The gents will know. You find those small balls there, and when you urinate on them, they actually sublime, they release the gas, and you breathe it in, and you think, oh, me, I don't smoke, me, I'm safe. But you are actually at a risk higher than a person who smokes. My presentation is over.
Great. A round of applause to EcoSave Africa. Beautiful, beautiful, powerful presentation there. Solutions. Really looking forward to ensuring that we have solution-based, especially it matters environment, climate change. So we want to appreciate them for that. And I want to believe they're still around for any questions that we may have. I want to believe, yes, they can confirm they're right here. They have a tent. If you have any questions, please go ahead and talk to them. Right about now, it's 1:30, and I want to believe because of the lunch that has been prepared, we want to have some lunch. And so I want to give you to be back here by 2:30 so that at least we can go on with the rest of the program. We have an amazing session as well from some of the people who are already working on these particular areas and enforcing governance, and that's the other session. And our guests are also present and will be ready to speak with us. So let's right now break for lunch. We'll catch up in the next 45 minutes.